My name's Waffles, and I'm a government whistleblower turned political commentator. I'm here today because I would like to reveal some information to the public as to why it is that I believe that Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and other members of MAGA within the Republican Party in the United States government have been engaging in fraudulent activity through our federal agencies prior to the election and over the course of the pandemic. I believe that attempts to dismantle our federal government and our federal agencies by Elon Musk and the MAGA administration within the Republican Party in the United States government are an attempt to conceal evidence of a crime. I have been personally impacted by the information that I'm about to reveal to you guys. I don't personally feel that I'm a professional content creator. I'm becoming a content creator because of all of this. But I feel that the public has a right to know, especially because we're dealing with a worsening situation and a situation that is a threat to national security and the safety of the residents of this country. As a result of what I have been through and what I have experienced through all of this, as well as what I've witnessed, I wound up doing a lot of research to try and figure out why it is that all of this was happening. And I have to say that I feel that MAGA and their little crew of idiots that are doing a bunch of substances right in front of all of us and yelling a bunch and acting ridiculous on camera are doing a really crappy job at being professional criminals. And we can be grateful for that. But as the American people, we need to see to it that our system of justice and our federal agencies are restored. And we never should be in a situation ever again in the United States where our federal agencies are being deliberately defunded in order to deliberately cause harm upon the American people. This is unacceptable, and the American people do need to put some effort in and stop sitting there eating the popcorn expecting somebody else to handle everything for you. All I can do is give you the information and do the best that I can to try and fix things. All that I can do is make efforts to try and educate and inform people, but there is only so much that I can do as an individual. Other than that, we are in a very serious situation as a nation, and we really need to start having a serious discussion about what we're going to do to fix it, because nobody's coming to save you. And if we don't pull together as the American people against what is a domestic threat, in my opinion, a domestic terrorist threat, then we are going to have a very serious price to pay. And I can say that in my personal situation, I've been locked in a room for almost 3 years now because I keep getting deprived of resources as a result of all of this. I am already well deep into the impacts of what it is that Doge and MAGA are trying to enforce upon the American people, and this is not something that we should allow to happen. I am living like a prisoner in a home with somebody that I absolutely cannot stand in an unhealthy and borderline abusive living situation, with no control over my life or my future. And the only thing that I have the ability to do is to try and fight back the best that I can to do something about this. And I feel that during this time, people are leaning way too much on us content creators to try and save them. And if that's what you're expecting, maybe it's time that you call into your cognitive awareness that that's what you're doing. People need to be looking for solutions to these problems instead of staring on in horror. This country has 340 million people in it. And we're dealing with roughly what may possibly be 150 to 200 assholes fucking shit up for all of us. So then I'm saying, let your survival instincts kick in and let's start finding reasonable solutions to these problems. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and move forward into looking at some of this information that I have drafted up and trying to find solutions to my problems. I started writing a book. But unfortunately, I feel that the situation is so severe that that is just not going to work. Other than that, I can say that one of the things that I see happening right now, that's been happening for a while, is that the courts are being deliberately backed up in order to prevent people from pursuing justice. And I also feel that we're in an environment where fraud is being endorsed and encouraged. And so people really need to be watching their wallets and holding companies accountable for the things they do. But if our cases are being ignored in the courts and not handled and people are being denied justice, we have a very serious problem on our hands, because what that results in is that we have all of these companies, all of these individuals who have broken the law and have found out that they can get away with it. And so they do it again and again and again. And I believe that it is the cumulative effect of all of that that has resulted in a national security threat. We have laws for a reason, and a lot of those laws are supposed to be enforced by our federal agencies. And because of the fact that Elon Musk is going and dismantling our whole system of governance, those laws are not being enforced, and that ultimately makes the country and the people of the country less safe. So, with that being said, since the courts are being deliberately backed up and it is now resulting in these kinds of things, I will also say that I have been trying to find a lawyer for years. I am low income. And we're going to, over the course of what is going to happen in the next several months through my platform, be looking at how this impacts society, why it's wrong, what we can do about it. But I will say this. If the courts are getting backed up, if they're so bogged down that people are not able to pursue their legal cases and they're just filing case upon case upon case, because that is what is happening, and those cases are not getting resolved, then what you have is the denial of justice. And the denial of justice ultimately results in a national security risk, because when people aren't able to get justice through the courts, they then turn to things like vigilante justice. Let's use Luigi Mangione's case as an example. I'm not saying that he is guilty. I'm not saying that he is innocent. But this is one of those situations, along with, the burning of the Teslas that we have all been witnessing, when people feel that they are not heard and nothing can be done about their problems. These are the kinds of things that happen. This is why we need to defend and stand up for our system of justice and see to it that these kinds of things do not take place and do not continue to take place in our country ever again. We have work to do as the American people. And I'm very disheartened by the amount of people that I see that want everybody else to light the way for them and think that we are going to simply and easily get through this with no responsibility to the individual. People need to put some effort in. If you want things to get better for yourself, if you want things to be better for your children, if you want a better future for this nation, then you need to take some personal responsibility and stop expecting everyone else to clean up the mess for you. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and start getting into some of the specific data, and I will do what I can to break this down. But I have been unable to find a lawyer, and I'm not surprised by that, because our whole legal system is being bogged down. So my life is now going to be made public piece by piece. I am building a website, and I do want people watching it, and I want them to know who I am, and I want to be heard. I need to be heard, because I am part of the puzzle pieces that we need to fix these problems. Other than that, I haven't been able to find a lawyer no matter how hard I try. So then I'm going to the Court of Social Justice, and we will address these matters publicly. We are now going to go ahead and move forward into this drafting, which was initially me trying to draft a whole ass motherfucking book to try and deal with my problems, since I can't get a lawyer and I'm losing everything I have in my life has been absolutely destroyed. I just don't feel like waiting to have this book drafted and published is the best idea, because at this point I've got over 600 pages of stuff and the situation just continues to worsen. So then I need to choose between myself and my country. So I'm going to do the latter. So here we have a report that I wrote trying to figure out why it is that 3 years into the pandemic, nothing had improved at the Colorado Department of Labor. This was initially a letter that I was writing in an attempt to get legal aid because lawyers would like you to submit an explanation of what is going wrong. But our law firms are so far beyond bogged down because this has not just been going on recently. This has been going on for the last 4 years. And so ultimately what we're dealing with is organized crime. And I think that the Trump administration and his MAGA politicians need to be held legally accountable for defrauding the United States of America and its people. So this is the beginning of what has turned into a large amount of content that we're going to go over piece by piece, and we are going to fight back. I will be publishing this, and I will add it to the description of this video after I have done so, but I'm getting very angry and I'm not putting up with the crap anymore. So Elon Musk and his little buddies want to keep being all loud and obnoxious and trying to hurt the American people. We will start here. This is a backlog report. This is a report on the state of the backlogs at our federal agencies during the pandemic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and enter this into my text-to-speech software. We're going to let it play. And then we are going to go ahead and overview this content. We will have a discussion of some sort.
To whom it may concern, I write to you declaring the United States federal government has engaged in a tort of incomprehensible magnitude. If you feel this letter is too long to read, consider using a text-to-speech software. I will be unwavering in trying to get this resolved because I see the overall situation as a national security threat. That means, if I need to be incredibly loud and in the public eye to see to it that this is dealt with, I will do so with no regard for my personal safety. This letter has been sent to government agencies, nonprofit organizations, scholars, media outlets, law firms, and public officials. We need to acknowledge the misappropriation of American tax dollars and lack of government accountability to the people. I am, in this letter, openly accusing several branches of the United States federal government of the tort of disparate impact in failing to address pandemic provisions for governmental operations and therefore depriving millions of American citizens of the aid they need from Social Security assistance. To enforcement of labor laws, ECT. I have been fighting to be heard on this matter and am having a very difficult time being heard and understood. I think this is a very large problem that is in front of a lot of people, but people are failing to acknowledge it, and partially due to a lack of knowing its cause. I believe the overall causation of the problem I am writing you to address is a lack of oversight and accountability. I have been working to collect information on this in order to write more effectively, but I think a lot of the data I need is not being made publicly available. However, I do have some statistics to speak to the matter. I feel this has incredible implications for the state of civil liberties in the United States, and a failure to act will have dire consequences. I view complacency on this issue as the erasure of decades of Americans fighting for freedom. Considering the violent history of the United States, this, to me, is unacceptable. In having a government that fails to enforce the laws, we have no government. This is what we are facing. I feel the lack of patrolling police force that I am witnessing in my area is nothing more than a physical representation of that which I am able to clearly see every time I leave the house. I am horrified as to what this may mean for the rights of minorities and women, and therefore my rights. I am going to open up with some explanation as to my case scenario and afterwards provide statistics and background on my cause for concern regarding this being a civil rights matter. I am a 36-year-old female. I have been working in the trades since 2009, primarily in construction and landscaping. I had no idea when I entered into this type of work that I was on the frontier of women breaking into this industry. Throughout my career, I have been met with significant adversity and a lot of mistreatment and have lost several jobs as a result. I had to learn the hard way where we are at in the historical timeline and realize that women are not treated equally and that I have found myself in a precarious situation trying to make a living. Throughout the years, I have sought out help quite a bit and have not received any respect or assistance in trying to figure out how to deal with these men hazing me out of my jobs. There is all this hype about women in the trades, but nobody is helping these women navigate this moment. I tried working for the union and was treated worse there than under terms of conventional employment. In attempting to reach out to organizations that claim to assist women in the trades, I was not met with even so much as a single reply. I am now almost 40 and am finding that it is not realistic to believe that I will ever be granted the right or ability to have my own home. I was severely abused as a child and do not have family to turn to. I started doing this kind of work because I was living in my car during the 2008 recession for a period of 2 years, and this is the work that was available at the time. Setting aside the appalling amount of abuse and mistreatment I have experienced throughout my life, where I find myself now has led to frequent thoughts of suicide. I have been shut in this bedroom for almost a full year now. I am lucky I even have a roof over my head. There are a lot of people being affected by the lack of government oversight that has caused me to be in such a dire situation. I know I'm not the only one suffering to an extreme because of this. I was initially writing all of this due to a lack of ability to find a lawyer. What is now an introduction to a report on denial of justice and blatant theft within our agencies was initially a letter to try and get a lawyer. Lawyers always want people to go into detail about what happened to even get the opportunity to speak with a lawyer. I have filed multiple cases and am just unable to get assistance. I know I am not the only one having these problems though because of what is in this report. In my inability to get assistance and the frustration of getting financially robbed along with the denial of justice, I have been trying to find answers and trying to figure out how to get justice. I have been writing extensively and the issue now seems to be snowballing into a giant ugly monster the whole nation needs to deal with. I am a former government employee who witnessed negligence during the pandemic. That means I am a whistleblower if I am then providing this information to the public for means of public safety. I have also blown the whistle on what appears to be a likely case of international fraud being conducted in the United States. I was hoping things were going to calm down enough for me to be able to pursue my own case and do what I can to try and assist the public in the middle of all of this, but over the past several months I have watched as corruption has become a worsening situation for the American people and we all are being impacted. I was attempting to build a case, but this cannot continue to wait. I will do the best I can to get as much useful information to you as possible in this book and leave debate on the facts up to the people to do the work on. The simple fact of the matter is that our governmental body has failed and continues to fail in implementing effective policy and appears to also be attempting to deliberate harm to the people of the United States with criminal intent. This is unacceptable as it is considered to be treasonous to be attacking the people of the United States. I am not the best writer and I apologize for the incompleteness and lack of structure of this writing. As far as what has transpired this past few years, it starts with me fleeing an abusive living situation and moving in with my uncle. Shortly after I moved in, I broke my foot on November 5, 2022. I filed for unemployment benefits because I broke my foot and was resultantly much less able to work. I live in Colorado. I was repeatedly told on the phone by representatives at the Department of Labor that I was unable to receive my benefits due to the backlog created by the pandemic and had ongoing issues with attempting to claim unemployment. This has been an ongoing problem for people in the state of Colorado. KRDO, a subsidiary of ABC News, states the following in an article that was published on August 9, 2023. According to federal data from February, Colorado is the slowest state in the country, approving 36% of unemployment claims within 3 weeks, which is the threshold the U.S. Department of Labor classifies as timely. Ritzdorf, 2023. With that being said, I will let you know that in 2021 I spent 6 months working for the Department of Labor as a subcontractor through an employment agency handling incoming calls from claimants struggling to receive their unemployment. Our contract was severed as a result of less incoming calls and I was laid off. It was pretty upsetting to be handling these calls, hearing what people were going through and having to refuse assistance to people who qualified for and needed the help. It is now 2024 and I am sad to say that in my interaction with the Colorado Department of Labor it appears little has changed since then. This is quite alarming to me. I have lived a life of severe adversity which we will address later in this letter. As a result of how my life has panned out, I have not been able to maintain any savings in my bank accounts and desperately needed the aid I qualified for and did not receive in a timely manner. It took me somewhere around 2 to 3 months to find a job on the internet where I could safely work from home with a broken foot. During this time I had no source of income. I was incredibly frivolous in attempting to find a job, submitting literally hundreds of applications online a day. Eventually I got hired by a high-turnover call center in another state called StarTech. I was hired on for a team of new staff to handle a new client obtained by StarTech. The client's company name is Altus or Optimum U.S.A. In attempting to resolve customer complaints regarding abnormal financial activity, I was fired. I have filed complaints to 2 state attorney generals as well as the SEC regarding this. In July, the co-founder of this company was arrested in Portugal and an international investigation has started, Goncalves, 2023. This company has been the subject of an international fraud investigation. However, the United States has failed to investigate this company. It has been investigated in foreign nations but not within the United States. I do not know whether or not the United States government is working on investigating this. After being fired for this job for calling out suspicious financial activity, I started a landscaping job at a local business. I was hired for the position of enhancements foreman. I was given a supervisory position over a young man who repeatedly told me, "I don't think women can do this kind of work." There was a lot of problems at this job, and going into detail on this matter is not time efficient, so I will spare the details. I was not given the support I needed for the position I was in and was harassed and fired with no explanation. I filed a complaint with the EEOC regarding this matter. Immediately after being fired from my landscaping job, I started attending college. I was previously enrolled and was planning not to attend school during the summer in favor of my job. Since I had been initially hired for a supervisory position, I spoke with management and was told it would be best if I did not attend classes this semester because of the fluctuations that can happen to work schedules during the summer season. The situation I faced losing this job sent me into a panic, so I went to my classes as a reaction to trauma. The landscaping industry hires in early spring, and when they terminated me there were no jobs available, forcing me into this situation. I then took a massive pay cut and was working under the table for $15 an hour landscaping for a person I found on the internet who was not engaging in safe practices. I was not making enough money to stay committed to the 2-hour drive I had to make to get to this job. I continued to attempt to collect unemployment while reporting my earnings during this time to supplement my income, and then, when no longer being at work, was still unable to collect. I had found an online group of people who were trying to figure out what is going on with our unemployment division, and we found that we could receive our benefits if we call the state governor. After months of dealing with this, I am now directing people in my state to contact the Office of Inspector General. My unemployment benefits have been turned on and off throughout this whole debacle. One of my previous employers lied about the reason for termination at a previous job I had for a temporary agency, and I had to appeal. This was very time-consuming and cost me money that I do not have. I had to spend over $100 to have subpoenas delivered overnight mail requiring a signature. I also had to drive and hand-deliver the subpoenas. My benefits were turned on and then immediately turned back off, claiming an overpayment which I have no financial means to pay back. The Colorado Department of Labor now says I owe them money. This has prevented me from collecting benefits further. In attempting to contact the Department of Labor's Unemployment Division, one was told to call the hotline, which doesn't even connect to a real person in any way. After doing extensive research, I now believe it is very likely that money that is meant for our federal agencies is being stolen from persons directly in our political offices. I will elaborate on this more as we get further into this piece of writing. I know that the Department of Labor's Unemployment Division is disorganized and not communicating internally. I used to work there. It has been 4 years now since the pandemic started, and nothing has changed in how this division is conducting itself. People in my state are still trying to figure out what is going on with all of this, and a handful of people have been contacting the news to get their unemployment. I feel there is a need to watch the news on this matter, and the things I have seen taking place in regards to this is quite concerning to me. On November 30th of 2023, 9 News published an article titled, "Woman Who Spent 11 Days on Hold Finally Gets Unemployment Benefits Totaling About $10,000, Sullivan, 2023. I think the title of this article speaks for itself and only serves as a small example of what has been taking place. This problem is going on across the United States, not just in Colorado. The effect this is having on society is people having to file for bankruptcy and losing their homes. There are a lot of reasons why this is a serious issue that needs to be addressed, and sadly, the unemployment programs are not the only governmental services having this type of problem. I feel like I have stumbled across a problem that a lot of people are not necessarily aware of, and if I need to make them aware of it, I will. We have a government that at the federal level has been failing to enforce the laws of this nation as a whole. I was very frustrated trying to get answers as to why, 4 years out from when the pandemic started, nothing has changed at the Colorado Department of Labor. I found it very strange that the people of Colorado have to call the state governor to get unemployment. In my employment as a telework employee at the Department of Labor's Unemployment Division here in Colorado, I feel I witnessed gross negligence in how claimants were handled. Therefore, I feel I have good enough reason to believe that what has been taking place with the dismantling of the American government that I am witnessing is in some way directly related to what is going on with the telework practices of the federal agencies, and that this report provides a somewhat accurate depiction of the scale of the problem we are dealing with across the nation. On November 29, 2023, the House Oversight Committee held a hearing on the telework policies of government agencies. Forbes Breaking News, 2023. After watching this and knowing what I experienced working for the Department of Labor, and including the information I've been looking at over the past year with the severity of my personal situation, there are 2 things I would really like to know. When I started this research, I wanted to know who it is that is making the decisions as to how these departments are managing adaptation. In the world of business, people are always looking for ways to make things more effective and efficient. I would assume each of these governmental agencies should have someone who is in charge of this aspect of how these divisions are run. We should not be in a place where in 2024 now we have seen little to no improvement in how these agencies are being run since the pandemic started. The fact that this is what is going on is refutably putting our federal government in violation of the law. After spending nearly 2 years now knowing the state of the backlogs, seeing nothing getting done, realizing it is a national security threat, and doing extensive research to find solutions, I feel the United States Congress bears the most responsibility for the suffering Americans have been experiencing in the past several years. There are regulatory requirements for timely response that these government agencies are required to follow that for the last 4 years now they simply have not been following. This is unacceptable and cannot continue. It is American citizens who are paying the price for the misappropriation of tax dollars and lack of professional behavior of our political offices. The various reasons that cause people to attempt to claim public benefits, more often than not, comes down to the fact that they need those funds to survive. Our federal agencies are meant to provide people with stability and security that is necessary for a functioning society in today's modern world. These programs are meant to thwart emergency and uphold the law. There are all sorts of situations where people may need to utilize these benefits, such as situations of losing employment during an economic downturn or having a temporary injury. These programs have been under attack recently, and I believe it is because there are individuals in our governmental body who have been engaging in crimes who may be found if we were to look into what has been taking place through our agencies. Our public officials need to stop and take a moment to look at the bleak future they are painting for the citizens of this country. Since the pandemic started, there are several branches of government that have been failing to serve the public. This needs to be addressed. Their failure to serve is creating a very serious situation that, in my eyes, is, in itself, the systematic dismantling of the United States government and dismantling of our freedom and security as citizens. Our federal government needs to see to it that the systematic effects of problems resulting from the pandemic are addressed and resolved promptly. It is now 2024, and allowing our government and thus our country to remain in a state of chaos and disorder simply cannot and should not be allowed to continue. We need to address the serious load of backlogs in our governmental departments, as well as any other issues taking place that are preventing proper governmental operations. The divisions of government we currently have that are being hampered down by severe backlogs include, but are not limited to, the following: the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, the Department of Labor, the EEOC. Let's take a moment to now address the effect this is having on society. Backlog Data Report. The backlogs involve budgets and a lack of staffing. Inflation has affected the cost of operations in. State of the backlogs at various federal agencies. Department of Veterans Affairs, VA. 250,000 backlogged cases as of 2022, Gonzalez and Harris, 2022, more than 300,000 as of October 10, 2023, Spanberger, 2023. According to military.com, the Department of Veterans Affairs anticipates that its claims backlog, defined as those older than 125 days, will grow, potentially up to 400,000 inches in the next year, largely the result of the PACT Act. Kime, 2023. While conducting research, I found an article from 13 News Now titled, VA Facing Big Backlog of Benefits Claims, says it could take 2 years to catch up, that was published on June 12, 2023. Department of Justice. Criminal Justice. Harris County, Texas, as of April 13, 2023, sits at an average of 114,000 inches in backlog, Sessions, 2023. San Francisco, California, as of August 9, 2023, San Francisco has more than 1,100 cases past statutory time limits, and 115 of those defendants are languishing in jail without a conviction. Sturm, 2023. The backlog. It is unclear how many criminal cases were left unresolved in San Francisco Superior Court last year. The court provided data for the California Judicial Council's 2023 Court Statistics Report stating that 35,265 criminal cases were filed, 3,086 felonies, 2,179 misdemeanors, and the rest mainly traffic-related infractions. It showed that civil filings totaled 12,004 cases with 10,433 resolved. But San Francisco was one of 10 counties that did not disclose the outcomes of criminal cases. The court provided data for the California Judicial Council's 2023 Court Statistics Report stating that 35,265 criminal cases were filed, 3,086 felonies, 2,179 misdemeanors, and the rest mainly traffic-related infractions. It showed that civil filings totaled 12,004 cases with 10,433 resolved. But San Francisco was one of 10 counties that did not disclose the outcomes of criminal cases. Sturm, 2023. State of Virginia, VCUCNS, 2023. State of New York, Lucas, 2023. Immigration backlogs. There are currently more than 2 million cases pending in U.S. immigration courts. The United States Government Accountability Office states that this is a backlog which has more than tripled since 2017, U.S. Government Accountability Office, 2023. These cases are under the oversight of the Department of Justice. There are also backlogs relating to immigration at the United States Department of Labor of significant magnitude. The most recent information I can find regarding Department of Labor statistics on backlogs states there was a 114% increase in backlogs in the fourth quarter of 2022 from where the backlogs were at in 2020, Krybaum, 2023. According to Bloomberg Law, the Office of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services had a backlog of almost 9 million pending applications as of the summer of 2023, Lopez Medina, 2023. The wait to get a visa is up to 10 years for some people as a result of these backlogs. The states with the largest immigration court backlogs, according to Track. 1. Florida, 454,434. 2. Texas, 426,901. 3. California, 327,743. 4. New York, 322,021. 5. Illinois, 192,044. 6. New Jersey, 176,104. 7. Massachusetts, 144,721. 8. North Carolina, 119,025. 9. Georgia, 117,861. 10. Tennessee, 111,894 inches, Davis Jr., 2024. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission backlogs. The total number of cases in EEOC's charge backlog rose from 42,811 to 51,399 pending charges between fiscal 2021 and 2022. Friedman, 2023. Social Security Administration backlogs. According to the AFGE, American Federation of Government Employees, the state of the backlogs as of October 23, 2023 is as follows. Since 2018, initial disability claims processing time has more than doubled. Processing went from 3.4 months in 2018 to 7.2 months as of July 2023. Since 2018, disability reconsideration processing time has increased by 78%. In FY 2018 it took on average 3.4 months compared to 6 months in FY 2022. Since 2019, average wait times for calls to be answered on the 800 number have increased by 115%. They went from 20 minutes on average in FY 2019 to now 43 minutes in June 2023. There are now 4.2 million backlogged items pending at the payment centers. In FY 2022, it took 6 months on average for SSA and State Disability Determination Services, DDS, to process disability reconsideration requests. There are over 1 million claims pending at the state-run Disability Determination Services. SSA anticipates a 15.5-month wait time for a disability hearing for the 2023 fiscal year after an average wait time of 11 months in 2022. AFGE, 2023. Securities and Exchange Commission backlogs. I was unable to obtain clear information regarding the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, state of backlogs but found some journal reading published by accountants which had complex mathematics but also mentioned whistleblowers within the SEC who wish to remain unnamed. It exemplifies a trend that has been taking place with our agencies discarding cases as a result of overflow that has been caused by inappropriate budgets. This paper states that upon investigation that some aspects of the SEC appear to be operating functionally, but it looks like larger cases that involve more investigation are not getting addressed by the Securities and Exchange Commission. I have included some quotation from this paper titled, "Wearing Out the Watchdog," which I find to be significant. According to a journal article from the Accounting Review titled, "The Impact of SEC Case Backlog on the Formal Investigation Process," the SEC not investigating cases with large losses at least partially because those cases take longer. In terms of economic significance, the coefficient estimate on large losses indicates that these investigations take 239 days longer to close, or approximately 27.3% longer, compared to restatements that result in lower losses for shareholders, Bonsall et al., 2024. This means that larger cases are not getting investigated because of a lack of budgetary resources to function. This article includes information provided by whistleblowers from within the SEC as well as mathematical data as to what has been taking place at this agency. This is a reoccurring trend at our agencies which I am seeking to address, and we will go into further detail about this later. Our federal agencies have been dismissing cases without cause due to not having the funds needed to be able to pursue these cases. The impacts of this are discussed on page 25 of that article. I will also be addressing the impacts of what I am seeing in researching the issue of the backlogs in a separate segment of this paper. Department of Labor. California 6,773 pending cases as of January 13, 24, Employment Development Department, State of California, 2024. Washington State, backlog data unavailable. Tennessee, backlog data unavailable. Texas, backlog data unavailable. Florida, backlog data unavailable. Colorado, backlog data unavailable. Alabama, backlogs as of November 9, 2023 are at a 3-year delay, Plotka, 2023. Nevada 32,000 pending cases as of the 10th of February 2023, Haas, 2023. Michigan, backlog data unavailable. Wage claims. California Department of Industrial Relations. For workers who don't drop or settle their cases, the state averaged 505 days to decide an individual worker's wage claim. Data from 2017 to 2021 show a violation of the 135 days maximum set by law. Kwong and Lazo, 2023. Department of Labor complaints against employers. Data for any Department of Labor complaints that are still unresolved is unavailable. Department of State. Backlog data unavailable. Department of Interior. Roads and other transportation assets account for $5.9 billion, about half, of the NPS deferred maintenance backlog. U.S. Department of the Interior, 2018. Deferred maintenance backlog for BIE schools is $634 million, U.S. Department of the Interior, 2018. Unable to find recent and detailed backlog data for the Department of Interior. Department of Homeland Security. Backlog data unavailable. Department of Homeland Security. There is a significant amount of articles currently being published in the news regarding immigration courts in relation to the backlogs. They can be found in the references portion of this paper and also found easily using a search engine on the internet. U.S. Government Accountability Office, 2023. Agencies received 928,353 requests last year and processed 878,420 requests, both record highs, according to the Justice Department's Office of Information Policy. Agencies were required to upload their fiscal 2022 annual FOIA reports by March 1. Agencies will soon be posting their Chief FOIA Officer reports, which provide helpful context to the statistics reported in the annual FOIA reports and detail agencies' work in key areas of FOIA administration, the Justice Department office wrote in a blog. The Department of Homeland Security, which had pushed its backlog to a 10-year low in fiscal 2021, saw backlogged requests double in fiscal 2022 to 52,266 cases. DHS received more than 542,000 FOIA requests and processed more than 500,000 requests last year, setting new records for the agency, according to its annual FOIA report. Most FOIA requests at DHS are for people seeking their immigration records at Immigration and Customs Enforcement and U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, which saw 302,698 FOIA requests alone in fiscal 2022. In response to the surge in requests received in FY 2022, the DHS FOIA staff engaged in tremendous collaboration and coordination to provide strong customer service to the requester community, the DHS Privacy Office wrote in the annual report. ICE and U.S.CIS continued an agreement that streamlined the experience for individuals seeking personal immigration-related files. Additionally, Secret Service staff stepped in to help U.S.CIS with reviewing and closing backlogged files. The Justice Department also saw its FOIA backlog rise, from 49,959 requests at the end of fiscal 2021 to 64,982 requests after fiscal 2022, according to its report. DOJ received 93,370 requests in fiscal 2022, second most out of any agency after DHS. Meanwhile, the Defense Department's FOIA backlog increased slightly over the course of fiscal 2022, from 17,597 backlogged requests at the beginning for the year to 18,567 at the end. DoD received 54,004 requests and processed 52,222 requests over the course of the year, according to its annual report. The State Department's FOIA backlog took a jump in fiscal 2022 to 18,765 backlogged requests, up from 14,941 the year before. State received 13,864 requests in fiscal 2022, but processed only 9,167 requests over that time period. The National Archives and Records Administration, on the other hand, managed to keep its backlog steady despite receiving nearly double the amount of FOIA requests last year. NARA received 14,975 requests in fiscal 2022, up from 7,725 in fiscal 2021. But NARA's backlog stood at 9,969 requests at the end of fiscal 2022, 2 requests less than the previous year. NARA's FOIA staff managed to process 14,977 requests in fiscal 2022, more than double compared to the year before. Doubleday, 2023. Social Security Administration. The state of the backlogs at the Social Security Administration reflects a wait for benefits that could be up to 2 to 3 years as of October 2023. UChicago Institute of Politics, 2023. Equal Opportunity Commission. Gabrielle Martin, President of the National Council of EEOC Locals No. 216, states that the EEOC has been closing cases without investigation as a solution to a lack of resources and an appropriate budget. In 2018, nearly half of EEOC employees stated in a government survey they didn't have the resources needed to do their jobs, stating that the workload is unreasonable. Inflation affects their ability to use the budget. Jamil, 2019, the budget was updated recently. I am unable to find easy to understand current statistics, but this stands as an example of the kinds of things taking place. As stated previously, there has been an influx of cases adding to the current backlogs at the EEOC. The EEOC is not the only agency that has been throwing out cases as a result of extraordinary backlogs and a lack of appropriate budgets. Jamil, 2019. Agencies or reports complaining about backlogs causing a lack of enforcement or fulfillment in their divisions. Department of Defense. Members of the United States military have been forced to live in abhorrent conditions, creating health problems for our service members prior to even seeing any form of combat. Multiple military barracks were found to have issues with mold and mildew, sewage overflow, broken windows and locks, lead-based paint, pest infestation, water quality, exposure to methane gas, and extreme temperatures. According to a report recently released by the United States Government Accountability Office, poor living conditions in military housing decrease quality of life for service members and their families and can negatively affect military readiness. Poor living conditions in military housing decrease quality of life for service members and their families and can negatively affect military readiness. This report did not include any data about a good handful of different military housings to include senior enlisted. In September 2023, we reported that some barracks pose serious health and safety risks and do not meet DoD standards for privacy and configuration, such as number of bedrooms. DoD does not comprehensively track barracks budget information. The report from the U.S.A. titled, Military Housing Strengthened Oversight Needed to Make and Sustain Improvements to Living Conditions puts blame on not enough money in the budget. Lack of oversight, improper accounting practices, and absence of clearly defined standards as the reasons for the unhealthy living conditions at United States military barracks, United States Government Accountability Office, 2023. An article that was published in 2019 by NPR titled, Shoddy Maintenance of Military Housing Under Scrutiny by Senate, Military Leaders claims that these abhorrent conditions at military housing are also in relation to actions taken by Congress in 2019 in reducing budgets, Bowman, 2019. With that being said, this was all the way back in 2019. This matter was subject to public speculation and it is now 2024 and this still has yet to be resolved. According to NPR in a 2024 article titled, U.S. Military Barracks Are in Shambles. Will the government take action? In October 2022, a Department of Public Works team spent 90 days on site inspecting and remediating more than 1,100 cases of mold. NPR, 2024. Those numbers are only from one location. I will conclude this in stating that my grandmother died because she got mold in her lungs where she was living and mold should be taken seriously. Department of Health and Human Services. Food stamps, SNAP benefits. Tennessee Department of Human Services has been denying people their food stamps, SNAP benefits, WTVC News Channel 9, 2023. Georgia denying people their food stamps because of backlog, Boland, 2023. Colorado denying food stamps because of backlog, Bryan, 2023. New York, county offices as well as the state agency overseeing SNAP distribution attribute delays in providing benefits to the public on the pandemic. Employees blame wage disparity for troubles with employee retention. As New York Focus previously reported, tens of thousands of New Yorkers who have applied for food stamps have had their benefits delayed for more than 30 days, in violation of federal law. Lubin, 2023. The list of problems with food stamps not being available in various states is ongoing and I do not have time to document this in its entirety. Complaints against healthcare providers, Sites, 2023. Medicaid, Weiss, 2023. Hospital visits. Prescription meds. Preventive care. Maternity care. Mental health services. Rehabilitation services for people suffering from injuries. Long-term care includes people living in nursing homes and home-based care who have chronic illness or disabilities. Department of Justice. San Francisco, California, Sturm, 2023. Milwaukee. Harris County. Virginia, VCUCNS, 2023. New York, Lucas, 2023. Rape kit backlogs across the nation are questionable but clear data is unavailable, U.S.A. Facts Team, 2023. I've seen this mentioned a handful of times throughout the news and have been unable to find solid data. This indicates that the processing of rape kit backlogs is likely also a part of this problem. Forensic as well as sexual assault DNA kits have not been getting tested. Some of these date back to the 1980s, Washington State Office of the Attorney General, 2023. Washington State is making an effort to resolve this and the rest of the nation needs to follow suit. Department of Labor. Wage claims. CalMatters states, California's wage claim system is so backlogged it takes nearly 4 times longer than state law permits for the average case to reach a decision, according to a CalMatters analysis of state data. Most workers drop or settle their claims before a hearing. Judgments are issued if a worker persists and wins. Kwong and Lazo, 2023. With that being said, if people are giving up on the legal system to resolve their problems, it means that justice is not being served and those who are breaking the law are thus being encouraged to do so. Alabama Department of Labor states, prior to the pandemic, ADOL, along with most labor agencies across the country, was already facing federal budget cuts due to the decades-old funding mechanisms set in place by Congress. The pandemic exacerbated those issues severely, and combined with a lack of staff and no real funding sources to hire permanent employees, the agency continues to experience delays. Plotka, 2023. I'm sure there's more, but for the sake of time, this gives an idea of what is going on with the Department of Health and Human Services. The impact this is having on society. Backlog data is not being openly published and made available to the public. There is a lack of transparency within our federal agencies and their subdivisions, and this should be an alarming cause for concern. It makes it very difficult to tell whether or not there is criminal activity within our agencies and if tax funds are being misappropriated or stolen. Below I am going to make some further examples as to why it is that the backlogs should be cause for concern. There are many different aspects of society that are currently being impacted by various divisions, and I will do what I can to try and break this down in a comprehensible manner. Some of this information may be from years prior to the pandemic, but serves as a clear example of the impact these backlogs are having. For scenarios where direct link to the pandemic is not addressed, data is still laid out to clearly give description to the impact the backlogs are having in their actual effects on victims and society as a whole. Disabled veterans are not getting their benefits is what this means. They are stuck in backlog and are not getting the help they need. If you reference the initial statement on the state of backlogs in this report, you will see that the backlog here is gradually increasing. It is not only the Department of Veterans Affairs that is having this problem, though. Not only are cases getting stuck in backlog, and the people with these cases are being left stuck with no help and no resolution in a variety of departments, to include the Department of Veterans Affairs. These scenarios are also spawning additional cases in additional departments in attempts to resolve. Overall, the situation is resulting in a lack of enforcement of the law due to ever-increasing backlogs on a variety of fronts, and overall resulting in a general lack of enforcement of the law. In the course of my research, I have seen everything from old ladies who need medical care because they broke a hip and need medical attention not get access to their Medicaid, to people who are on disability and are living in inpatient residential care not be able to access their required public assistance for medical care, to people on disability not having access to their food stamps, SNAP benefits, and thus being made to find other means to get food or go hungry, to DNA samples for homicide and rape just being shelved and ignored. The government literally has DNA evidence to prove persons guilty of committing murder, and thus placing them in prison so they are no longer a threat to society, and has been ignoring these samples and simply allowing these people to continue with their daily lives and continue doing whatever evils they may be committing. This is a very large scale and incredibly serious problem I am attempting to draw your attention to. It certainly appears to me to be a national security threat as well as a serious hazard to the well-being of all American citizens. The Securities and Exchange Commission, which investigates fraud cases, has been simply throwing out cases, which means that those engaging in fraud are allowed also to continue to commit these acts. We may be also dealing with rampant environmental pollution and deliberate destruction of our lands as a result of these acts. I am blatantly stating in this letter that I believe our government is being dismantled, and I think the United States Congress is deliberately orchestrating this. My highest concern is the potential of foreign interference in this scenario. I am slightly concerned that the structure of the United States government is very prone in the fact that we have one office, Congress, in charge of almost the entirety of the United States. The United States Congress is in charge of overseeing these agencies. It creates the regulation of these agencies, and it also provides the funds, the structure of which I find to be a very obvious place to go if you would like to engage in fraud, acts of corruption for the gain of individuals, as well as it being an excellent place to target if you would like to, as a foreign entity, in intelligence operations dismantle a nation via its structure of law, as well as create such a national security threat as has been created. There are currently persons in prison being held in prisons throughout the United States without their fair right to a speedy trial being held without being convicted. I don't feel I can properly express the severity of what I feel I am witnessing in the course of this research. I have incredible concern over what has been taking place at the South Texas border as a result of this in combination with that, and this will be addressed further in this paper. I want to be clear in this as we proceed that readers understand this piece of writing is not something to be taken lightly. The lack of proper enforcement of labor laws has resulted in income disparities and many Americans living in deplorable conditions. The people who are doing illegal, harmful and horrible things are thus made to win, and that is what this turns the country into. Kwong and Lazo, 2023. Department of Veterans Affairs, VA. Disabled veterans are not getting their benefits is what this means. They are stuck in backlog and are not getting the help they need. If you reference the initial statement on the state of backlogs in this report, you will see that the backlog here is gradually increasing. Veterans have also not been able to access their military service records, as those have also been stuck in a state of backlog. John Ossoff, U.S. Senator for Georgia, 2023. Military members who have been in the military barracks with unsafe living conditions have also not been able to get the health care they need as a result of this. The Department of Justice. The Department of Justice enforces federal laws such as fraud, corruption, drug trafficking, cybercrime, civil rights violations, and more. The Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice, created in 1957 by the enactment of the Civil Rights Act of 1957, works to uphold the civil and constitutional rights of all persons in the United States, particularly some of the most vulnerable members of our society. The division enforces federal statutes prohibiting discrimination on the basis of race, color, sex, including pregnancy, sexual orientation, and gender identity, disability, religion, familial status, national origin, and citizenship status. U.S. Department of Justice, 2024. Criminal justice. As a result of the pandemic, the state of Milwaukee has seen increased criminal offenses, led by a huge increase in motor vehicle thefts. A decline in arrests by Milwaukee police that Henkin called precipitous. Declining rates in how many criminal cases were being charged by the district attorney's office, and development of a large backlog of court cases. Borsick, 2023. This is literally and in the most serious sense a huge public safety risk. Harris County criminal court backlogs are extensive and comparable to what can be seen to overall federal backlogs at certain agencies. As a result of being hit by a hurricane and then the pandemic shortly after, Harris County is struggling to manage its backlog. Sessions, 2023. San Francisco, California. People are being held in jail for an extended period of time awaiting trial due to a lack of timely proceedings. People are losing their homes, their jobs, pets. All kinds of circumstances are being affected by people that are being held without the basic human right of a speedy trial. Kroll said in an interview that justice is being denied because the absence of trial deadlines without clear reasons gives the district attorney's office no motivation to settle a case, and a defendant's desperation may compel them to agree to a prosecutor's terms regardless of guilt or innocence. Despite the conditions in county jail, the stress of looming trials can lead defendants to choose jail, hoping for a faster resolution that would free them from strict restrictions. According to the Public Defender's Office, both the police crackdown and the trial backlog are taking a disproportionately hard toll on the city's minority communities. The sheriff's office told the San Francisco Chronicle that of the 58 people arrested for breaking public intoxication or drug possession laws in the first week of the program, 25 were Latinos, 23 white, 9 black and 1 American Indian. And while about 5.6% of San Francisco residents are black, more than half the people in San Francisco's jails whose speedy trial deadlines have passed are black, according to Raju Sturm, 2023. State of Virginia. The backlog of cases in Virginia's circuit court system worsened during the pandemic. Some people have been jailed for more than a year as they wait for their court date, according to records requested from several jails across the state. VCUCNS, 2023. New York. Last year, New York City jails reported their highest death rate in 25 years. Delays are causing the Dallas County Jail to be close to capacity, costing the county $87,000 every 2 weeks. Lucas, 2023. Rape kits. Failing to process rape kits results in sex offenders still being out on the streets hurting people and creating more victims, making America generally less safe for women. It also gives them an opportunity to flee prosecution. Immigration backlogs. The lack of appropriate governmental response to issues involving immigration has led to an increase of immigration-related lawsuits. LaHood, 2022, therefore only backing up the system further and likely creating even more backlogs. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. The EEOC was closing cases without investigating them to make up for a lack of resources. In 2018, 30% of EEOC cases were put into a low priority status. Only 13% of cases closed in 2018 ended with settlement or other relief for the workers who had filed the cases. Workers with discrimination cases will have to file a separate lawsuit, which would be at their own expense and may not even be possible due to the financial situation of those filing complaints. This includes cases for workers with disabilities making complaints regarding discrimination over disability. Jamil, 2019. Social Security Administration backlogs. Securities and Exchange Commission. Department of Labor. Wage theft. Workers in California have not been able to get back pay owed to them for cases of wage theft as a result of the backlogs. The Department of Industrial Relations appears to be the entity acting as the Department of Labor when it comes to the issues workers face in regards to workers' rights. Only 1 in 7 employers issued court judgment in wage claim cases have paid their workers the full amount owed 5 years later to the workers. This statistic is from 2017. For workers who don't drop or settle their cases, the state averaged 505 days to decide an individual worker's wage claim. Data from 2017 to 2021 show a violation of the 135 days maximum set by law. Kwong and Lazo, 2023. Department of State. Department of Interior. Department of Homeland Security. Department of Health and Human Services. Food stamps, SNAP benefits, WTVC News Channel 9, 2023. Medicaid, Weiss, 2023. Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, backlogs. Kentucky, questionable activity. So long as these severely delinquent backlogs remain, the United States government remains in a shutdown status. How can we continue to spend so much tax revenue on engaging foreign wars and sacrificing our own citizenry to such wars, but yet continue to fail to serve the public and serve in the public's best interest in regards to making sure the American people have access to at least the most basic of amenities such as food and shelter? They really are just digging a grave for the United States in not addressing the backlogs. It's like digging a perpetuating hole that makes its own self bigger, because failure to address issues, whatever they may be, from their root cause, is just spawning further legal actions that are worsening the backlogs and financial payouts and debts that would not have otherwise occurred. They really are just digging a grave for the United States in not addressing the backlogs. It's like digging a perpetuating hole that makes its own self bigger, because failure to address issues, whatever they may be, from their root cause, is just spawning further legal actions that are worsening the backlogs and financial payouts and debts that would not have otherwise occurred. How accurate is the data being published as far as unemployment claims and workplace rights violations? Is it even up to date if the government is operating off of backlogs? The length of time that this madness resulting from the pandemic is creating systemic issues that should not and would not exist if we had a responsible government. State-managed agencies that engage cause for concern, which have appeared during the course of this research. New York Office for the Aging. I found an article titled, "Lawmakers Voice Concerns Over Human Services Funding at Budget Hearing." This article talks about budgetary limitations causing a lack of access to food for the elderly, as well as financial assistance for non-Medicaid home care, as well as an agency that oversees adult care facilities. Lisa, 2024. Summary of Backlog Data Report. We are supposed to be in a time of economic recovery from this pandemic, and instead of helping the economy recover, our government has taken this moment to force debts down the throats of Americans and worsen living conditions for millions of Americans through deliberate fraud and negligence. Also, in the course of my research, I noticed that the majority of these articles I have been finding regarding people being negatively impacted in harmful ways by the state of the backlogs, particularly with the unemployment programs, happen to be women. Due to the fact that I am a woman, this has become a cause for concern to me. Upon further research, I have found that there has been an economic crisis and a variety of problems regarding the treatment of women within all of this, which I will be sure to address later in this paper, and a good amount of that is going to be covered in the civil rights segment of this body of research. Other findings from this body of research that also raise concern. ERA should have been passed already. Crime rates. The United States does not monitor its crime rate. The crime rate statistics being published by the federal government is based on voluntary reporting. Metrics for our agencies are really being managed quite poorly. We don't know the national crime rate. We don't know where the money is going for some of the military barracks. The United States also does not know its suicide rate, as that information is hardly ever updated, and why too much later to be effective in addressing current matters that may be affecting that statistic. Extensive FOIA backlogs should be considered the concealment of information. Multiple military divisions have been making the claim that lack of appropriate legal definition is the cause of their lack of ability to act appropriately. In a recent report by the United States U.S.A. titled, Federal Real Property Preliminary Results Show that Increased Telework and Long-Standing Challenges Led to Underutilized Federal Buildings, the United States Department of Veterans Affairs VA states in general comments, while the report cites low utilization rates, it does not identify what the ideal utilization should be, how it should be measured, or whether there is a recommendation for a more consistent government-wide methodology for measuring. United States Government Accountability Office, 2023, pg 25. This has also been happening with the military barracks, which were recently exposed for poor accounting practices, with money not being accounted for and military members being forced to live in mold-infested barracks. It has been difficult to get up-to-date information on the state of the backlogs at our agencies. In this report, there is still alarming statistical data regarding what has been taking place regardless of that fact. What we see in this data is a worsening situation that has been unfolding at our agencies. It is a result of the United States Congress denying funding to our federal agencies. In the past several months, the behavior I have witnessed coming from members of Congress as well as other MAGA politicians has given me great concern that the budgets are being abused as a political weapon. I think there is a good likelihood that these politicians may be directly tied to the millions of dollars of tax funds that have been going missing through these agencies. It is not a good thing that it has been made so difficult for the public to be able to monitor the status of our governmental body and the performance of our governmental body. A lot of this data ends with fiscal year 2022. I am very concerned that the state of the backlogs at our agencies from 2023 to 2024 may be much worse. Deliberately creating a situation where legal cases are simply getting thrown out due to a lack of ability to afford to uphold the law is obstruction of justice. I believe this is what our United States Congress has done. I believe there may be members of Congress who have been directly or indirectly receiving the funds that have been going missing through these agencies as a result of what is taking place with my own cases and accounts. There is further information in this piece of writing to include data of my own account within the government. I am unable to go into full depth at this time because Donald Trump just got inaugurated and is attempting to shut down our federal agencies, and I need to wrap up all this writing and make what I have publicly available at this time. I believe attempts to tamper with our agencies right now is an attempt to try and conceal evidence of a crime involving multiple co-conspirators working within the United States government. I apologize for the incomplete records. Information about civil rights. As reported by Pew Research in 2022, women earn 86% of what men earn based on median hourly earnings, FRI, 2022. Earnings gaps represent a prime reason why women, especially widows and divorced women or those who never married, experience higher rates of poverty in old age than men. Almeida and Salas-Bech, 2023. When checking to see where this information came from, as it is cited in the article one found it in, the cited source is a research document from the Congressional Research Service titled, Poverty Among the Population Aged 65 and Older, Almeida and Salas-Bech, 2023. More women than men have been forced into being unemployed as a result of the pandemic. The decrease in the labor force participation rate for workers overall, from 63.3% to 61.3%, exceeds that seen in the Great Recession and ranks among the largest 12-month declines in the post-World War II era. According to Bureau of Labor Statistics data, the rate for women had fallen as low as 54.4% in April 2020, and the rate for men had dipped to 65.9% in the same month. Hispanic and Black women accounted for much of the decrease in labor force participation among women. The net 2.4 million women who left the labor force from February 2020 to February 2021 included 582,000 Hispanic women and 511,000 Black women. Collectively, Hispanic and Black women accounted for 46% of the total decrease among women but represent less than one-third of the female labor force in the U.S., Kochar and Bennett, 2021. A recent poll by the Pew Research Center states half of American adults state women being treated differently by employers is one of the major reasons for the gender pay gap in the United States. Aragayo, 2023. 20 million women were forced out of the workforce at the beginning of the pandemic. DiCamillo, 2023. That is roughly about 5% of the United States population and is roughly about 10% of the population of women in the United States. Occupational segregation, the clustering of women in just a few occupations, is a key reason for gender wage gaps. 21 helped cause the pandemic's disproportionate hit to women's employment. 22 and remains an obstacle to their recovery, especially for women without college degrees. Before the pandemic, nearly 6 in 10 women were employed in just 3 sectors that also were those hardest hit by the pandemic: education and health, leisure and hospitality, and retail and wholesale trade. 23 inches, Almeida and Salas-Bech, 2023. Time out of the labor force and reduced working hours have lifelong ramifications for women's economic security, from lost earnings today to smaller Social Security benefits and retirement savings down the road. Women's reduced labor supply also has growth, productivity, and international competitiveness ramifications for the whole economy. Almeida and Salas-Bech, 2023. In the United States, more than 1 million children are homeless, which is twice as many as before the pandemic. ENDEVR, 2024, 0 hours 21 minutes and 36 seconds. Opening parenthesis. Need to be sure to include data about how women are expected to be primary caregivers in some section of this area of this paper. This also includes caregiving to the disabled and elderly, cause the women gotta take care of everybody while the dudes rob everyone and spend their money on stupid shit like alcohol and fancy vehicles. Resources. AFGE, 2023, October 23. If you have to wait months for your Social Security benefits, blame Congress.
Alright, so I'm in the process of video editing. And there are things that apparently I had a whole segment where I was recording and had my microphone on mute. Other than that, I'm feeling kind of nauseated after watching this. But I'm addressing things that need to be said. So when it comes to this backlog report, this was written in between 2003 and 2004. There's no way I could have come up with all this shit this fucking quickly, man. I've been watching their every move. If you're one of the MAGA politicians that's been engaging in fraud and stealing from the general public, breaking the law, knowing that you're breaking the law, I'm sorry, but if you're making bad life decisions, if you're the one that's choosing to make bad decisions, well, you made bad decisions. And that's your problem. And you knew you were making bad decisions. And you kept doing it. And then you guys came out here and told everybody that you're doing it. So, you know what? Deal with the consequences of your own actions. Ain't my fault you're stupid. But yeah, let's get this pulled back up here. So, I mean, this was written a while ago. I've come in a few times just to make some brief edits, you know, some short updates. Like things, there was a brief mention about 2024, but the majority of this was written in 2025, or 2023. I'm sorry. And I gotta say, like, I was really disgusted seeing, you know, having to go through all this data and seeing what's being done to people. The fact that we have, like, elderly people in emergency medical situations that have been unable to receive assistance. People have been dying as a result of what our politicians have been doing. And if our politicians are deliberately killing people, yeah, they need to be held accountable. That is treason. I'm sorry. This is not how you treat your own country. And if we're deliberately denying the budgets to hurt people in the United States, you're committing treason. It's that simple. So, I mean, this was written a while ago, though. So I'm telling you that I preemptively saw all this shit coming. And what are we looking at here? I mean, the proof is in the pudding, okay? We got the Department of Veterans Affairs. These are agencies that were repeatedly showing up during the course of my research that caused me to be alarmed. The VA, the Department of Justice. I already knew it was a target. So you guys, if you're a MAGA politician, I've been tracking your every fucking move for the last 3 years. And I've been posting it publicly. All that shit's there for everybody. A lot of it. But no, it's documented. You guys fucked up. And it's already been distributed. So, you fucked up. You made bad life decisions. Immigration. Alright? The VA, the Department of Justice, immigration. More than 2 million cases pending in U.S. immigration courts? Personally, from where I'm sitting, you know, I had my career taken away from me. I've been stuck in this fucking house. By doing all of this shit, these guys literally created a situation where they've practically made it a full-time job for me to fucking watch every goddamn thing they're doing, trying to fucking do something about it. So, I mean, of all the stupid things that you could have done, you didn't think about the people, what you're doing to the people, and the fact that there's consequences for that. You made it my full-time job to fucking hold you accountable. 2 million cases pending in U.S. immigration courts, and from what I understand, Trump was interfering with Biden's ability to secure the border. By passing freaking, by like, having injunctions introduced. We're coming out of a pandemic. We have a crisis going on in our economy that needs to be resolved. That people need to be helped. They need required services. The Department of Labor is there for a reason. It didn't just magically fucking appear, dude. So, you know, not only do we have all of these people that are trying to get their immigration shit handled, you know, we've got people that are trying to get their fucking visa renewed. That should be bing bang out the door fucking handled. First of all. What is going on here? You know, in trying to figure out why it is that I was not able to get my unemployment and why this is happening to so many people, because I've seen what was happening inside of the Department of Labor. I got the roadmap that these guys took all the way to get to where they're at right now to hurt our country. 2 million cases pending in immigration courts? That is 2 million people that are being denied justice. So we got a lot of people running around right now that their documentation's not been updated because the government hasn't been doing its job. And I can say in the middle of all of this, you know who's been sitting in the seat the whole time is Mike Johnson. So, as far as co-conspirators goes, that guy should probably be put on the list and investigated. Here's some evidence. He needs to be included in an investigation. So, not only did this happen, but then Trump also tried to, well, he did. He used Congress, contacted them, and from what I'm hearing, issued an injunction. Somehow. I don't understand all this shit. I got people helping me out and shit. To make it so that the border does not get funded. So not only did they hold up 2 million people in our immigration courts, this is the worst of all the backlogs right here, is immigration. They made it so there was no legal means to access to services to see to it that the people coming into this country are doing so legally. That is what Congress did. Well, at the same time, there's a bunch of migrants getting picked up at the border. I got footage. We'll go further into this later because this is a big issue. I got footage that they're picking them up with a truck and a hole in the border. Republicans manufactured the crisis at the border so that they could campaign on it. And it looks like they've also been human trafficking in the middle of all of it. I've also got footage of that somebody, it looks like, was engaging in cybercrime. Can't imagine who. Probably the guy that went running into U.S.A. ID trying to plug in fucking external hard drives. Sounds like hacking to me. Somebody shut down the asylum website. They made it inaccessible. So they literally made it so there's no legal means to migration. While there's a bunch of people here that are like just trying to get their fucking visas renewed. They've already been here. There's people that got family here and shit, bro. I don't give a shit what's coming out of the fucking MAGA butthole face, fucking fart face motherfucker, fucking just ass face, fucking ass hat, fucking shit ass, fucking. Why are you alive? How did you survive this long? People. All of that is nonsense. Now we'll talk about how to deal with their nonsense later. There's something wrong with these people. For lapping all of this up, but we need to clean up the mess that the fucking stupider half of the population created. Now, if they're stupider than us, we ought to be able to just as easily move these fucking chess pieces around. I don't understand why people are afraid right now. Fear is just, it is a stupid response in a situation like this. So there's that. They backed up the immigration courts, so nobody's cases are getting handled. People can't get their visas renewed. Somebody hacked somebody on the inside, probably Elon Musk, was engaging in some sort of cybercrime, taking down the freaking asylum website, and then they're picking them up at a hole in the fence in the freaking stupid border wall and driving them into the country. And then who is it? Greg Abbott, who also needs to be considered a co-conspirator that needs to be under investigation for human trafficking and other crimes, probably fraud, defrauding the United States of America, espionage. Put all these migrants on the buses and ship them throughout the country. Human trafficking. And considering what we're seeing them do right now, which appears to be slave trading, looks like they were doing this before Trump got into office as well. Doesn't mean it's legal. Either way, slave trading is illegal. This is a slave exchange. That's what it looks like to me. I'm a political commentator. I'm just here to express my God's honest opinion about the things that I see. I'm here to help people make educated and informed decisions. I have my First Amendment freedom of speech. I am allowed to say what I think, and this is my opinion. That is really irritating. It sounds like an alarm, and I don't know why this person who makes these videos did that. But the sound of a phone alarm and phones ringing really bothers me. So yeah, I mean, that's the worst of it, is immigration. Out of all these backlogs, we need to have this public discussion. We need to know about these things. The AFGE is mentioned in here. Let's start talking to those guys. But yeah, I mean, what agencies are we looking at? This was written before fucking stupid Elon went and fucking acted a fool. The VA, the Department of Justice, Immigration, EEOC, Social Security Administration. This looks like all the targets that they're currently attacking. Securities and Exchange Commission, Department of Labor, Department of State, Department of Interior, the Department of Homeland Security, and there's additional departments like a fucking nuclear regulatory agency that have been hit. There's some that I missed. FOIA. FOIA makes it so, FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. These are requests that people can submit with the government to get information. This is what news reporters use. So by backing up the FOIA backlogs, it makes it so that people are not able to find out what's going on. Social Security Administration, 2 to 3 years to get benefits. In some cases, I know people still got cases that are getting processed, but this is what's happening, you guys. It's just that the people who are trying to get benefits, trying to file cases and shit, they don't know what's going on, and people are probably experiencing all kinds of different wonky problems, but this is what's happening. The Department of Defense, Department of Health and Human Services, these are all their targets. These are all the places that were hit by MAGA, by Republicans, attacked during the Biden administration. You know, they shut me up. They tried to shut me up. I fully and wholeheartedly believe that this TikTok ban thing is what is referred to as retaliatory legislation. Because I seen Gregory Abbott start to traffic people on them fucking buses, and I yelled at him on TikTok. And then they spent the next several months trying to pretend like I don't exist. Immediately, right after that, introducing this TikTok ban bill. And then spend the next several months trying to campaign on immigration. I see what you're doing. I've been watching the whole time. No, dude, they created that crisis, and that's not acceptable. People have been dying. There have been violent attacks. We need to handle things correctly. You are no hero in this situation if you created the crisis. So that's what I see in this backlog report. No, I'm very angry. I should not be in the situation that I'm in. I am in the situation that I'm in because of what these politicians are doing, and it certainly appears that what these politicians are doing is going on a crime spree. Other than that, we need to fix it. And I feel like I see way too many people sitting back and enjoying the popcorn in the middle of all this and thinking that it's going to be okay and that somebody else is coming to save them and that whoever that somebody else is that they imagine in their head has their best interest in mind. People have some very strange things going on up here that need to be dealt with. One of them is fear. Because a lot of people are spending days, weeks, months, years caught up in that emotion, and it should only take 5 minutes. What you need to do is you need to confront your fear, and most of us already know this. Well, at least a lot of us do. But yeah, I mean, that feeling that you hate so much that makes you feel that way, could be gone in 5 minutes if you would just confront your fear, because it's going to happen anytime there is a question mark for the future, the unknown. So start confronting your fear. Quit being a sissy. There's that. Other than that, if politicians are the ones that got us in this situation, I think a lot of us know that we have had a problem with the fact that our politicians are bought and paid for. But people are just keeping this mentality of, there's nothing we can do about it. And again, I've been having a lot of discussions about learned helplessness. Where is this mentality coming from that people are so scared of everything that they don't stand up for themselves? This is what got us where we are today. People are not willing to stand up for their own selves. A lot of people are out there not willing to have self-respect and say, I am not going to be treated this way, and stand up for themselves. And this is the whole reason why we are in this situation. But at the end of the day, the kinds of things that we're looking at, we have DNA kits for rapes and murders. This is one of the things that I have found in the middle of all this research that could prove people guilty of rape or murder. And instead of testing those DNA kits, these people are just running around out on the streets, and then people want to complain that our politicians are bought and paid for, but not do anything about it? Excuse me. If that's how you view things, then you're agreeing to these terms. You're saying that this is how you want it to be. If you don't want it to be this way, then you need to stop crying and do something. It is that simple. You see me here doing something? Right now I'm here trying to provide people with answers and solutions. This is what's been going on. They've been stealing money through our federal agencies for the last 4 years, and they're trying to hide from it. So here's some additional stuff that we need to look at. So when it comes to the issue of copyright and the law, as a political commentator, or when discussing politics, I have the legal right to use materials for purposes of political criticism. We're going to go ahead and take a look at this article from Time magazine. This is pretty short. It was published on October 4th, 2024. This is about an author named Anna Wolf.
Mississippi is the poorest state in the country and one of the most politically corrupt. That's unacceptable to Anna Wolf, fearless reporter for nonprofit news site Mississippi Today. After years of digging, she disclosed that top state officials doled out $77 million of welfare funds to family, friends, and political supporters. She received a Pulitzer Prize for her exposé. Her work reflects journalism's ideals, including protecting the trust that sources place in her. When a judge ordered her to turn over privileged documents in May, she and Mississippi Today appealed to safeguard that trust. Anna Wolf has become a hero to many Mississippians, says Adam Ganuccio, Mississippi Today editor. She cares deeply about people who are traditionally ignored or wronged, and she's not at all afraid to take their stories directly to the power brokers who prefer to operate in the shadows. At a time when journalism is struggling to survive, Anna reminds us why it matters. Woodruff is a senior correspondent and the former anchor and managing editor of PBS NewsHour.
So Anna Wolf discovered that politicians were literally stealing, it looks like, a total of $77 million of welfare funds. That was the state governor who got in trouble for that. And here I have this whole report. It looks like there's a lot of individuals doing that, and we can even narrow it down to what specific regions have been impacted. I'm angry. I'm out here in the middle of freaking nowhere with no access to a grocery store, and some dude's trying to scam me and broke my car. And I'm watching as the courts get dismantled. You know, if you're going to make it impossible to survive, then what's going to happen is the people who are unable to survive because of what you're doing, I'm speaking about the behavior of our political politicians right now. If that's what you're going to do, don't be surprised when we come after you. These guys are stupid. Okay? It is people inside of our government that have been stealing this money. And they need to be held accountable. We're looking at one of the largest crimes in American history. And I do believe that every single one of these individuals are going to be held accountable. They're going to go to jail. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. On top of that, these guys just suck at crime. They're out here in front of all of us like, I did it! Obviously, Republicans. And then we got to look at the fact that Elon Musk just tampered with evidence running into these federal agencies. That's what this is. That is reasonable suspicion right there. His behavior is suspicious. Other than that, anybody involved with any bills going forward on funding these agencies that shot those bills down, those people need to be under investigation. There is first of all, they are obstructing justice. And second of all, there is a duty and a responsibility to uphold the law. Other than that, you know, I mean, I'm a registered don't give a fuck, okay? I'm a registered unaffiliated. I don't give a fuck what your fucking political, I don't give a shit about either president, okay? I'm gonna say that. While some people may support Biden, what I do know is that I've been working on this for the last 4 years, watching the Congress attack the people. Knowing that Joe Biden knew all of this, I've seen him make attempts to say something about it here and there. But this is also a national security threat. And I don't see that he took well enough action to see to it that something was done about it. He didn't speak to the public. And there's an extent to which, you know, maybe at some point we might have the conversation about the fact that this is a national security threat and he failed to act. So they targeted women, and I'm the proletariat. I'm the female that's been working in construction. And what I have been met with is an increasingly hostile environment where I'm getting hazed out of my jobs. These dudes feel emboldened to buy this. And so I'm losing work, and I'm not able to support myself, and now I'm completely fucked. And I will let everybody know we're in a heightened risk environment for fraud. And I'm also going to say, we're going to cover all of this. This is class. We're going to rip these fucking MAGA motherfuckers apart up in here. It starts now. But I think that a lot of the fraud that people are dealing with is coming through call centers. Other than that, if anybody wants to come after me for defamation, first of all, I've had everything taken from me. The most you can take from me is my fucking goldfish. What you gonna do? Take my goldfish? Bitch! I ain't got nothing for you. You guys took it all. And so then I want to say that as well for all of us that have been completely fucked. Come out here. What do you have to lose? Speak up. Quit being a coward. We're going to find solutions to these problems when we stop with the mindset of I can do nothing about it. You know how you find solutions to problems? You look for solutions. You ask yourself, what can I do about this? And you find solutions. And you don't find solutions, meaningful or effective solutions, by living in la land in your head, being caught up in fear or whatever catastrophizing imaginary world of shit that doesn't exist. There is a whole physical world out here that is outside of the cranium And people need to stop being caught up in ego and imaginary land and start thinking realistically and looking at what's going on around them and start using that to find solutions. We all know our politicians are bought and paid for. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about why it is that getting rid of Citizens United is so important. You know, there used to be regulations that prevented companies from buying politicians. Now what happened is some douchebag, wait, let's get that douchebag's name. He's the enemy of the United States. All of this is his fault. Alright, so the name of this domestic terrorist that has caused us, the number one domestic terrorist that has caused us to be in the situation that we are in right now, his name is James Bopp. That's James, last name B as in Bravo, O as in Oscar, P as in Paul, P as in Paul. James Bopp from Indiana. It is his fault that we are at where we're at today. And that is because of the Citizens United decision. He is the one that went and sued the government to have these restrictions removed. Now, as we can clearly see, being where we're at today, we have politicians that are being purchased not only, by major corporations, but from outside of the country. Do you think that investors who are buying your politicians from other nations, be they from Saudi Arabia, Iran, Egypt, fucking Russia, have your interest in mind? Do you think that they want to protect the United States? Do you think that they want to keep the American people safe, happy, and comfortable? I mean, as we can see, the United States federal government does not have an accurate measure of our crime rate. They have some random number that they made up based on voluntary reporting, so we don't monitor our crime rate. Rapists and murderers are just running around free on the streets, even though we got DNA kits to test and see if they're guilty of a crime. We can prove the people who murder people guilty of murder, but our government doesn't do that. These are reflections of things that need to be done by our governmental body that have not been done, that become a national security threat when they remain unaddressed. If you want to be free as an American, these are things that we need to handle. We need to address the fact that it is currently legal for people from outside of the United States to decide what happens to us. Obviously, we all know that we have a problem that our government is failing to serve the people. Now, this Citizens United decision was made roughly about 10 years ago, so it has taken 10 years of dangerous entities purchasing our politicians to destroy our country and put us all in severe danger. So before that, there was laws. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Let's talk about what the largest enemy combatant of the United States, domestic terrorist James Bopp, had repealed. Before Citizens United, the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act of 2002, BCRA, also known as the McCain-Feingold Act, was the main federal law regulating political spending by corporations and unions. Key provisions of the BCRA: corporate and union independent expenditures. Corporations and unions could not spend their own money on electioneering communications, ads that mention a candidate close to an election within 30 days of a primary or 60 days of a general election. They could fund these messages only through regulated PACs. That is also something that we need to get rid of. The people need to be in charge of who's coming into our political offices. Stop thinking that some stranger has your best interest in mind. We need to do something to restrict what these people are doing. And do you think our politicians that are bought and paid for by these people that are hurting us right now are the ones who are going to do it? No. We, the people of the United States of America, us lazy fuck Americans that want somebody else to do everything for us, need to actually take some responsibility and fix our fucking problems like adults. Something that seems to be really missing from American culture. Soft money ban. The BCRA also banned political parties from raising or spending soft money, that is unregulated contributions, not subject to federal limits, for federal election activities. What Citizens United changed: corporations and unions now have a First Amendment right to spend unlimited amounts of money on independent political expenditures. Let's go ahead and take a moment to look into some additional regulations that we need that our government has failed to pass because our government is controlled by enemy combatants. All right, so an additional bill that has not been passed, that needs to be passed, was in 2023. The Disclose Act was introduced. That would be S.512. This bill would close legal loopholes that allow anonymous or foreign money to influence U.S. elections and judicial nominations. The bill significantly expands disclosure and transparency requirements for corporations, labor unions, super PACs, 501c4s, and other entities. Look it up. That is the Disclose Act of 2023. It is legal for foreign nations to purchase your politicians. If a foreign nation is purchasing the people who are in charge of your government, what do you think that foreign nation would be trying to do? So then, for all of us who have children, families, elderly parents, loved ones here in this country, then you need to understand that it is incredibly likely that entities that want us dead are in charge. And if you want a better future for yourself and for your children and for your families, this is something that we need to take care of. We, the people, need to sit down and quit crying about how helpless we are and how hopeless everything is, and realize that Donald Trump is a person, and he is a fucking horrible person that needs his ass whooped. Elon Musk is a fucking junkied out, brain fried piece of shit fucking retard, and somehow he's in charge. So if you're going to continue to look at yourself and say, I'm so helpless, everything's impossible, there's no point in trying, when we've got a junkied out fucking retard in charge of our fucking federal agencies right now, I don't know what it's going to take to help you pull your head out of your ass, because those guys are people and they're not special. They're really fucking not. But the difference between them and all the people that are whining and crying and sitting back eating popcorn right now waiting for somebody else to fix the problem for them is that they put things into motion. They take action. And it's that fucking easy to fix our problems. There's very few people out here actually doing shit. And the rest of our civilization is crying about how fucking impossible everything is and that there's no point in trying. And then they're telling each other whenever somebody tries to do something that there's no point in trying. And that is the problem that we have, and it is stupid. So let's get out of that mentality. And we need to start writing legislation that actually serves the common interest of the people, because our politicians are absolutely not going to do that. I have zero reason to believe that's ever going to happen. We need to take control of our political system. We need to turn the United States back into a country, since foreign investors have control over the government. I wouldn't even call them investors. I would call them terrorists. The United States has been handed over. We need campaign finance law. I did a lot of research about all this Citizens United shit. And what I found is that A lot of the money, after this decision was made, a lot of the money coming into local elections was coming from the outside. So even in the smallest election is some podunk ass town, you know, people have no control over what their politicians are doing, and decisions are being made that are not in the interest of that district or region. So we need to get rid of this Citizens United shit. And we need to, as people, find some reasonable solutions for campaign finance, draft some fucking bills, and get that shit passed into law. This is what we need to be doing. This is how we get out of the hole that we're in, where our whole governmental body has been corrupted. We're Americans. We fought World War II. We can fight fucking Russians. We don't hand our country over to Russia or any other fucking country. But I can say that from where I'm sitting, it certainly is really suspicious, the relationship that Donald Trump has with Russia. And for that reason, I find it reasonable to believe that this PSYOP that we're currently experiencing, which appears to be an attempt to dismantle and the governmental body and harm American people, is being orchestrated by Russia. I mean, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, must be a fucking duck, dude. It's as simple as that. Why do we gotta overcomplicate shit? No, it's that fucking simple. That's where I'm sitting. That's what I believe. I believe what I believe based on my observations, and it's gonna stay that way. And I'm gonna continue that dialogue until my politicians start behaving differently and start serving in the interest of this nation and stop fucking hanging out with fucking foreign enemies. I'm going to continue to preach the gospel that I think that Russia's trying to take over our fucking country right now. Yep. So, there's one thing we can do. We can start getting that kind of shit passed in certain states where we're able to do so. And then once we start taking control over the federal seats, try to get it passed into federal law. These kinds of regulations. One of the things we need to do is get it passed into federal law that the citizens can write the fucking laws in every fucking state. But we need to take our country back. Because apparently, through campaign finance, it's been handed over to foreign entities. I don't know why everybody's expecting somebody else to save them. This is a really stupid mindset that people are teaching each other. This is a cultural problem. Learned helplessness. Where did that come from? It's something people need to think about. It takes 5 minutes to overcome fear. You confront it. People are spending their whole lives caught in that one silly fucking emotion. That is so silly. That is so stupid. So, there's one solution. And then we need to start passing bills and, you know, things like monitoring the federal crime rate, monitoring suicide rates. Another thing that I'm seeing in this report is, you know, the shit that's going on with FOIA. FOIA, for anybody who doesn't know, that's the Freedom of Information Act. That's when the government has to give over records. If somebody wants to know something about what is taking place inside of our government, you submit a FOIA request. FOIA is also in severe backlog. That prevents people from being able to discover the fraud that Elon Musk and MAGA politicians have been doing, stealing our tax money. These guys need to be in jail. They need to be held legally accountable. It's all here. And we got plenty of people inside of our federal agencies who are, you know, saying that a lot of this is happening because they can't afford to operate all this shit with people not being able to get their benefits. And if what they're, I mean, recently, just this week, I heard that they're like cutting the budget even further on these federal agencies. Well, you can see here in this report that was written over a year ago that I'm about to publish finally because I'm fucking pissed that we have several agencies that have years of backlogs because we had just had a pandemic. So you're not acting in the interest of the nation if you're going to cause a situation where people's fucking benefits are being denied, and they're not able to, hold people legally accountable, like the people who are stealing money from you. So I just want to remind you, if you ever need to take your vehicle to an auto shop, you could be subject to fraud. Any company that you have any business with right now can steal from you because the laws against fraud are not being enforced. The fact that Donald Trump has a fucking, approval rating over 40% really reflects a very serious problem in this nation that we have that we need to collectively address. Because if you're okay with people just stealing from you, which is literally what these guys are trying to do to us, you're a fucking retard, dude. You're a fucking moron. There's no helping you, man. Maybe wiping you off of the face of the earth is the best thing that could fucking happen, because a lot of these people are gonna die anyways. They're gonna lose access to medical care and shit. Yeah, keep being stupid. If you got no fucking survival instinct and no willingness to fight back or even understand what's going on around you, maybe you need to be wiped out. So, the roadmap for everything that they're doing right now is in this fucking report, in my opinion. And I'm going to also say that it looks like they deliberately targeted women and minorities and the disabled and our veterans in all of this. That's what I see. I already saw it coming. And I've just been watching this worsening situation. So I'm doing what I can to find solutions. And I got a list of things that we need to pass regulation on. And people need to start working together and stop seeing this as an opportunity for clout, because our nation's at risk. It's been handed over to a foreign entity. That is what I am telling you. That is what I am explaining. I am explaining the mechanism through which how they got here. We as Americans need to be the badass motherfuckers that we think we're so fucking cool, but we're so fucking stupid that we're not. Everybody's just sitting back like, oh my god, it's so scary. Nothing can be done. There's no point in trying ever. I'm gonna hand my whole life over to a ketamine addict. I'm ready to die. Just kill me. So are we a bunch of fucking pussies? Because, I see a lot of people out here trying to pretend that they're badass, but at the same time, I see a bunch of people out here acting like fucking pussies. That's what I see people doing. Oh, just take everything. I will never do anything for myself. Everything's so scary. Why try? These guys are criminals. Defrauding the government of the United States of America is a crime. It's against the law. I've been reaching out to so many fucking lawyers. I'm not being heard. Okay? So some of the statistics that I've been looking at is 29% of the population does not have access to the judicial system. And again, this is how we got here. You gonna let people attack whoever in the fucking populace they fucking want? First of all, it's bad practice, because people who don't do that actually make 3 times as much fucking money. So these morons need to go back to school. These CEOs that are doing all this shit, they need to be fired. This shit that just fucking happened with Ben & Jerry's trying to get rid of their CEO, that dude was making them some fucking money, obviously. Corporate social responsibility is part of the success. It is part of good business. So these guys either have an outdated education, that believe that treating employees like shit is how you make money, that believe that not being involved in politics is how you make money. No. When you stand up for what is right and you have a sense of morality, you make a lot more fucking money. Actually, Frito-Lay is an excellent example of sustainability, social responsibility, and making fucking cash. And that is a company that's built to last. They're going to be making a lot of money. If people want to pump stock into a company, there's one to pump stock into that's actually going to survive and be worth your fucking money. Other than that, any of these companies that have these CEOs that are acting a fool, what's going on is these CEOs are coming in, trying to take your fucking money, cash out, and bail. That's not somebody that's good for the company. And I don't understand why companies want CEOs like that. Obviously, this generation of people that are in charge of all this shit, that are making these kinds of decisions, they need to go back to school. Their education's outdated. Let's stop playing ball with these fucking dumbass motherfuckers. Start looking out for our country, start looking out for ourselves, and start making some real fucking money. Because this shit's a fucking joke, dude. These people are clowns, and they ain't been to school forever, and they don't even fucking... They're just out for themselves. Why are we playing this game with these fucking morons? Why? And that's why I'm out here speaking out. Because, like, I'm one individual. I'm doing what I can right now. I'm using my voice. I'm educating. I'm not out here crying about how I'm helpless. I'm doing what I can with what I have. And in doing that, I'm telling you, all of you people, to quit clowning around, grow a pair, and be a real American. Quit being a whiny bitch. Nobody's got any place to fucking be bolstering their ego or talking about how cool they are if that's what they're gonna do is discourage others, cut people down, steal from others. I tell everyone, you know, this is stupid. This is fucking stupid. I don't know what kind of dystopian fucking nightmare I'm fucking living in, but this place is a fucking joke to me. So I got another thing to say that's probably going to come up since I'm making this video. I've been working in construction for about 10 years out of my life. Since the 2008 recession, I've been working in construction and landscape. I see all these men out here making all these insults about women. You know what? I want to let everybody know what I experience in the workplace. It's probably like 1 out of every 12 dudes is a piece of shit. Most people are normal. Most people don't have to be a piece of shit. The people who are pieces of shit that are out here discriminating on others, they have nothing to offer. They're the fucking loserest of all the fucking losers. Andrew Tate is a fucking loser. Okay? And so what they're doing is they're fucking trying to draw attention to themselves and try to make it look like they're providing some sort of value by saying that I'm not like those other guys. I got a whole argument I could make on that. It's a very basic form of psychology to be like, I'm like you, we're not like them. And that is so fucking dumb. And people need to be seeing through that shit. Okay? The moment somebody starts acting like that, that's a fucking moron right there. That is a person that is not going to add value to your life. And when they start exhibiting that kind of behavior, what you need to recognize is that's somebody that's probably going to try to do harm to me. They're probably going to try to steal from me. They have bad intentions, and they have nothing to offer, and that's why they're acting that way. First of all. Now, what is happening, because I work in a male-dominated field, is that when employers run into, when that dude shows up, because it's about every 1 in 12, and starts throwing a temper tantrum like a toddler, like a 4-year-old, because there's a woman on the job. Now, mind you, I've been working as a supervisor, and I will outwork most of these motherfuckers. So I don't even want to hear this shit about how women are fucking weak and pathetic and shit, because the people who are saying that, they're fucking weak and pathetic. They're a bunch of crybaby ass bitches. And anybody, if you're going to be on the journey with me, this is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about whiny ass bitch men that don't even know how to clean their own fucking toilet. You won't come out here and talk about how hard you are, how cool you are, how badass you are, and you don't even know how to scrub your fucking toilet, and you be shitting in some fucking bacteria-infested cesspool because you're just that fucking worthless and you have no fucking self-value that you can't even take care of your basic needs as an adult, bro. You don't even know how to fucking go on Google and look up a fucking recipe and follow instructions. There is nothing cool about you. There is nothing hard about you. And on top of that, all of those whiny bitch men, I could probably beat your ass. I can curl 25 fucking pounds. I can curl it. So I just don't even want to hear all this shit about how women are weak and all this crap out of some fucking bitch, man, that probably has less muscle mass than I do, that I could probably, first of all, beat up, that is stupider than me, and lacks life skills. Please, shove me to the front in front of fucking Andrew Tate and all these fucking cucks. Do it! Because that's all these dudes are. They're whiny fucking bitches. And you know, to all the real men out there that actually have life skills, that respect other people regardless of their gender, regardless of their race, that don't gotta go out here and act like some fucking piece of shit to try and get attention because they have nothing to offer, because they're not willing to work on themselves. Those are the real motherfuckers. Those are the hard motherfuckers. And these other dudes that want to come out here and talk about how great they are all the time, most of them are bitches. Okay? Women can be bitches and men can be bitches too. Men bitches. Whiny ass bitch men. That's what those motherfuckers are. So let's call it what it is. You want to feel good about yourself? Start doing shit with your life. Quit being a whiny bitch. If you're going to spend all your time bitching about fucking women, then what you are is a whiny bitch. So I don't want to hear it, because I'm out here, I'm working 3 times as hard as a lot of these dudes. They be fucking leaning on shovels, flapping their fucking jaws all day. These dudes want to come up in the comments, yeah, well, women don't fucking do the fucking work that we do. Fuck you, bitch. Shut the fuck up, bitch. I'm trying to make money, bitch. You're getting in my way. So these employers that want to fucking, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, like, if you're going to fire me because I'm female, what I'm running into is they just don't know how to handle the situation. I'm in a male-dominated industry, and they don't know how to deal with it. And rather than, like, acting like adults and understanding that I'm a human being and talking to me like one and handling it like they're dealing with a human being, they're like a fucking deer in the headlights at the fucking meeting table. They're like, what I do? It's an alien! That's what it's like dealing with these fucking dudes, man. And then they freak out like they're fucking scared, like I'm some sort of fucking alien, dude. I need to start showing up with a fucking alien costume next time I have any of them fucking meetings where a dude is starting shit with me. They're like, well, I already know I'm gonna get treated like an alien, so I figured I might as well play the fucking part. This shit of Donald Trump and Elon Musk and his fucking cronies doing all this shit talk about women, first of all, it's being done to conceal the crime that they committed, which is that they just stole from half of the fucking population being the women. How is that okay? How is it okay for some fucking faggot ass fucking piece of shit to just like steal from half of the fucking population? Why is that okay? I don't think Donald Trump's so fucking special that he should have half of the fucking population's fucking money. No, dude, if you're stealing, you're stealing. Shut the fuck up, bitch. Go to jail. What is this shit? You know? All this crap y'all dudes have been taught. Alright, look at my muscles. Look at my mighty meaties. I am the alpha. And I'm a woman. So, I'm just saying, like, all this shit that you got going on in your head that you dudes have been teaching each other, all this shit, this weird shit, this is all social conditioning. It is not reality, and this is part of what we need to be breaking down in this time. Because things are not going to get better, and we don't improve the situation unless we start fucking talking to each other. We are half of the population, and we can't fuck you up. We can't. You want us cooking your meals? A lot of women have been having discussions about how to poison the men that abuse them. That has been part of the public debate since the men have been hostile towards the women in the past year. We can fuck you up. And that needs to be part of the public debate. Because if all these dudes are going to come out here and do all this dehumanizing shit, you know, let's have an honest discussion. Because the discussion that these dudes are having is not honest. What you guys are doing is you're forcing people into slavery. That's what it is. I can attest to that. I've been locked in a room for 3 fucking years. I worked my ass off. 3 times as hard as these motherfuckers. I'm doing all of this shit trying to figure out how I'm going to get out of this hole that I got put in by a bunch of whiny bitch men that don't want to work for the fucking money they have. They don't know what hard work is. I don't want to hear no whiny bitch man talking about how a woman doesn't know what it's like to work hard. No, it's the other way around. They want to put all these fucking obstacles in front of us and make it so fucking impossible just to stay alive for no good reason. Because if it wasn't going on, you know, I mean, first of all, people would be a lot happier. Productivity would triple. And I have statistics to speak to that. And I'm going to continue. We're in class now. This is going to be going on for months. There's a difference between reality and imaginary world. And a lot of the men in America are living in an imaginary world. And they're teaching each other about the imagination. But just because you imagine something doesn't mean that's the way the world actually is. There is a whole fucking world here. It was here before you came into it, and it will be here after you die. And as long as people want to stay having this cerebral experience and fail to recognize that there is an earth surrounding them, and that this shit that happens up here is up here, and that if you want to be effective in the real world, you have to understand how that world actually works. As long as that is going on, we are going to continue to live in a world where everybody's being forced to suffer and all this fucked up shit is going on. I really, truly, honestly do not see myself as very different than a man. And it's because I refuse to be forced into the slavery environment of being forced to be a servant. And I really enjoy my life. I like being outside in the sun. You know, I get vitamin D. It's a healthier environment for me. And it's where I prefer to be. And for some reason, America really seems to have a huge problem with the fact that I just like to be outside in the flowers. For some reason, I have to fight with all my fucking heart and soul just to be allowed to be outside with the flowers. How fucking stupid is that, you fucking cunts, man? I hate these dudes, alright? I hate MAGA. MAGA is a fucking disgrace. These are weak people. They are pathetic. And MAGA itself, the whole fucking movement, needs to burn. Alright, so with all that being said, what we need to be doing here is writing our own legislation. We need to understand that our law firms and our nonprofits have been overwhelmed for quite some time, and they're not likely to be able to provide the help that the public needs right now. Okay? I'm trying to get my issues resolved. I've reached out to so many people that I've just given up. Okay? I saw this coming a long time ago. I am warning you about what is coming your way if you don't get your shit together. I'm in the middle of the shit. I'm the proletariat. I am the target of what these people are trying to do. I'm a woman. And I'm a woman that's been working in the trades. So I got double, triple fucked here. So I got more fucked than a lot of people early on. I think there's also, according to that report, thousands of people who just don't know what's been done to them. We need to raise public awareness. We need to educate others. We need to make sure people know what's going on. There needs to be efforts made to having tolerance campaigns. We are seeing a drastic increase in violence, violent crime, violence against women. There is a mass grave in New Mexico, I think it is, or Arizona. I don't know. We need to get that fucking mass grave in Sunland Park dealt with. You see, what's happening is things are getting worse and they're getting more dangerous. And if you want to raise your children here and you want to have any sort of future, you need to say something. You need to stop eating popcorn and quit being a little bitch. It's time for people to start doing stuff. And when you start asking yourself, how can I do something? How can I find solutions? And you start looking for meaningful solutions based on what resources you have and what you are capable of, you will find answers. But if we stay in fucking la land in the cerebral area in the head fucking floating around in imaginary world, we're not gonna find solutions. People need to be drafting legislation, passing that legislation. The nonprofits need to recognize what's going on right now, and we need to find a way to pull these people out of the mud, because the people that are being targeted are low income. But at the same time, allowing that to happen creates a national security threat. And they're just going to shove more people into that low income bracket where people don't have access to justice. There are some people who already know the facts behind some of the shit that I'm saying. We will break all of this down over the next coming whatever the fuck. I am so fucking pissed off. We need to be running public awareness and campaigns. We need to abolish MAGA, okay? There needs to be a deliberate effort going on to destroy the entity that is MAGA. We need to get their people to stop following that shit. We need tolerance campaigns. We need bills written and passed by the people, not our politicians. We can't trust those people anymore. We need to gain control over our country where foreign entities are not investing in our political system. I don't care what fucking reasons, what excuses people want to give for that. No, it all needs to come from America. Let's just go straight there. How about, you know what? Our politicians are doing such a horrible job. You know how we secure the nation? Not having foreign countries donating and deciding who our politicians are going to be. Let's start there. So here's some things, some real actionable items that we need to do. My next video is going to be on combating the MAGA movement and how it is that we shut this down and take control of our country back. Take America back from Russia. We are Americans. We fought World War II. You want to try to invade our country? We will fuck you up. Other than that, I honestly think that class actions is the best way to go with how fucking bogged down our legal system is right now. But I also want to admonish our nonprofits and our like I wanna talk shit to the ACLU too for how you guys just fucking ignore people in need. Because that's what got us where we are right now. And if we want to get out of it, you guys need to do the opposite. And we need to take all these low-income people because they're the ones that are being impacted by this. This is how we restore our federal agencies. It's the opposite of what most of these organizations, these law firms and shit would be inclined to do, but this is how we fix it. I honestly believe that. Because what I feel like is probably going on right now is that low-income people are being ignored when it comes to legal services, and a lot of agencies and nonprofits and law firms and shit are overwhelmed because of what's been going on for the last 4 years. But at the same time, if we ignore these people, the situation's going to get worse because they're the ones that had the cases. So I need to point that out. Also, another thing, I'm just doing what I can to clear the air, you know, and I'm video editing. I just want to make sure I try to get everything I can in here. Writing a book is a real fucking pain in the ass, and I don't like it. But it's not helping. Like, all this shit's going on, and I'm looking at the past, and I need to try and clear the slate here and get all this handled. Because the situation's just getting worse and worse and worse, and it's impacting my ability to do something about it. I could be writing a book for years. But I gotta go through, I gotta write everything, and then I gotta make it into English, make it make sense. I gotta do all the research. And you can see, even in trying to record this video, I was still editing out grammatical errors. 600 pages of shit is a lot of fucking shit. To have to go in there and edit every little fucking error, every spelling error, any, you know, apostrophes or periods or whatever that's out of place, all of that stuff. So I just want to do what I can to try and just get all this information out here and get on with my life. But in all honesty, I don't know what I'm going to do about all the losses I just incurred. This is not okay. I've had everything taken from me. I've been shoved out of my field of employment due to political violence that's been endorsed by our politicians. If it weren't for MAGA, I wouldn't be in the situation that I'm in. I didn't do this to myself. And I'm being denied justice. So then what am I supposed to do? Because first of all, I don't feel safe living where I'm living right now. I don't think that I'm safe in this house. The person I'm living with has been saying some very, very inappropriate things to me. And now I'm trapped here out in the middle of the country and I don't even have access to a grocery store. What am I supposed to do to fix this? I'm not the one that did this to my life. I've been working my ass off. I've been doing all of this extra shit because of the fact that women are hated in this country. I have to work harder than these men and try to find all these additional solutions because of what happens when I wind up losing my jobs because of men like this. It's not my fault that other people want to act shitty and hurt other people. I'm not the one out here hurting people. So if anybody's got any advice on that, I'd sure like to know because I've been busting my fucking ass. I don't see anything changing. Now I'm trapped in hell with somebody that I'm very fucking concerned about my safety around. Why is this okay? Why is this being allowed to happen? All of this shit has a negative impact on GDP. This does no good for anybody except for the people that are stealing from everyone. They need to be held accountable. Other than that, if my situation does not get rectified at some point, I'm joining in with the angry mob and shit's gonna get fucking crazy. Because like I said, when there's no fucking justice, when justice is denied, people resort to other means. And I personally don't feel like anybody should be allowed to do whatever they want to me. Another thing I want to elaborate on real quick too is this case with StarTech and Altice, which if anybody wants to come after me for defamation, especially since this is something that these politicians want to try and do, first of all, I have every right to engage in political speech and criticize the behaviors of my government. So, you're going to be talked about. And other than that, my defense is necessity. Because you guys have literally clogged up the courts. So, I have to come out here and speak publicly because it's the only way I'm going to get resolution. So, one of the things that's happening with people's cases is that they file a case and it doesn't get resolved because that is what our governmental body is doing. This is what you should expect. And I'm warning everybody, especially people now that the budget's been cut in half or whatever the fuck is going on and it's getting worse. They're just throwing cases out. They're not going to investigate your case. I mean, there's still stuff pumping through these agencies, but it's like a very small portion of what it should be pumping out. And if our Congress is denying these budgets and it's causing these agencies to not function within the legal timeframes, they need to fix that. Our agencies need to be super funded and those backlogs need to be cleared. And I think that what is going on is that we just saw Elon Musk or something. They just fucking half the budget. I think it was Congress passed a bill. They just cut the budget in half after doing all of this. Like, it is March 28th, 2025. This just happened just recently. First of all, I have plenty of evidence to show why they should not be cutting the budgets. Because these agencies are already years behind. But I think that they're trying to bury evidence of their own crimes. Because that backlog, that's all cases that are not getting handled. And they're sitting there waiting to get resolved at some later date. You know? That's justice that's denied. My SEC case, that company had a legal requirement You know, when you handle phone calls. At call centers, we have a legal requirement to hold on to call recordings for a certain period of time. Once that period of time has lapsed, and I don't have a reference in front of me, I'm just guessing right now, but it's like a year and a half or something. Once that time period has lapsed, that company is no longer required to keep those records. They can throw them out. I contacted the Federal Communications Commission demanding that company be contacted. This is an international fraud investigation that has taken place that the United States has failed to participate in. Meaning that you guys here at home in the United States, you're all going to be just victims. It's okay to steal from the American people. That's what this is about. People are not getting the help they need. I contacted the FCC to try and get those records extended. That case is now null. Nothing can be done about it. I've been denied justice for my firing on the basis of that I caught a company doing fraud and I said something about it. Protected activities. That should have been investigated. So I don't get justice because that time has passed. And that's what they're doing. This is what you guys need to know. I'm getting so frustrated watching everybody run around frantically. It seems like nobody knows what's going on or what to do about it. But this is what's happening. I don't want people out there frivolously filing cases. Keep filing. Keep filing because you need that for your records. But at the end of the day, it needs to go to a higher court. Because what's happening as a result of our federal government denying our budgets, these agencies can't function, and they're being straight up and in your face about it now. They're making it very clear that that's what they're doing. And I think they should be held criminally liable for that because they're obstructing justice. And the president, he's violating the Constitution. He needs to see to it that the laws of the land be upheld. Well, a lot of those laws are upheld through our federal agencies. You know, just do that. This is taking way too long. Why is it that our federal agencies have not been restored? Why is Doge being allowed to continue on its rampage when it is not legally allowed to do so? Why is it being allowed to do so? We don't pretend that everything's okay here. I got another girl. I'm keeping track of all kinds of people on the internet. I got another girl. She filed a EEOC case where she was being harassed and lost her job by a creepy old man. These are scumbags. These people that us ladies are filing cases against, these are straight up fucking shitbags. But it's still a system of the courts. And same thing happened to her EEOC case that happened to mine. I'm not surprised. They're just throwing away cases. It's happening at the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is supposed to protect people from fraud. So the law's just not being enforced, okay? The Department of Labor is doing the same fucking thing. You file a case, and then what happens is you're going to get a letter that says that your case has been dismissed. With no explanation. And I told people inside of these federal agencies while I've been writing, you know, that I know what's going on. Okay? So I don't expect anything from you. I know what kind of pressure you're under. And here's what I'm trying to do about it. And one of these employees told me is that their biggest concern is they're not even putting a reason for dismissing these cases. They're just dismissing them. So if you file with a federal agency, if you file a case, you know, a lot of people don't understand. These are our federal agencies, the Department of Labor. You know, we need to educate the public and teach them what is the importance of all of this. But if you file a case or you're submitting for a claim and it just gets ignored, that's what's happening. That's what's been happening. They're just throwing shit out. They're not doing their job. And it's illegal. Okay, I have overdraft charges that did not go to my bank account that I have shown here on my YouTube channel. on my Department of Labor account, and I think Elon Musk took that money, and I think that they're expecting a lot of us to just cave in so that we don't have that on our accounts and pay that money. I'm not paying that money. You stole it. So with that being said, there is a bill that is currently going to the Senate, H.R. 1156. After that, it goes to the president's desk. If the president does not sign that bill to see to it that all of the fraud cases from the Department of Labor from the pandemic get addressed, we can assume that these guys are directly engaging in fraud. Consider that evidence. Consider that suspicious behavior. That right there should be cause for investigation. We do not let these people get off the hook. But if you file as a citizen with one of these agencies and your case gets thrown out, keep filing, first of all. Understand that this is what they're doing, and know that it might need to go to a higher court. All of this money that MAGA has stolen needs to be returned. And I'm not just talking about since Doge started. I'm talking about for the last 4 years. 5 years. Since the pandemic. These people need to be held legally accountable, and I'm dead fucking serious about that. But our systems are getting backed up. Because people don't get resolution, so then they file another case. And then they file another case. And then you have one person that has all these cases. Backing up the system even more. Now, by cutting the budget in half, like they just did, is March of 2025, the recent budgetary restrictions that just took place. First of all, it's obvious and deliberate attempts to harm is the denial of justice. It's just going to amplify that. And what that means is that the evidence of the financial crimes that these guys have been engaging in, because there has been a substantial amount of fraud going through all these agencies. I'm sure a lot of us have heard about it. Oh, there's fraud at this department. There's fraud at the Department of Labor and Unemployment. It's still going on. I'm not paying you that money. No, you don't take money from me. You don't take money from me through my unemployment account. But they're just burying that evidence even further if they're committing a crime, which it certainly looks like they are. Elon Musk needs to be investigated, and so do members of Congress. They're burying the evidence by making it so that those cases are even that further pushed out and less likely to get investigated. All that fraud that's happening on people's accounts. They're burying the evidence. They're tampering with evidence, and they're burying the evidence. I am pointing out to you the crime and who's doing it and what they're doing. So, expect that. Like I said, there's still people that are able to make claims. There's still some stuff going on where people are having success. But we don't brush this under the table. We don't ignore it. We don't push it under the... we don't ignore it. But because of the fact that I wrote this whole ass fucking report and known this has gone on this whole fucking time and shit, I am now letting people know this is what our federal agencies are doing. They're dismissing cases without cause. They're deliberately backing everything up. And it looks like they're stealing directly from the people by expecting you to pay overdrafts that may not have gone into your account. So expect it. If you run into those problems, at least you can know what you're running into. And if any of you crooked politicians who have been involved in these crimes are sitting here watching this, yeah, dude, I bet you're real surprised right now. No, we know what you're doing. We're watching you. Dumbass. You are working for the United States government. You have a responsibility. And you're not fulfilling that responsibility. And if you're scared that you're going to go to jail and be held accountable, well, I guess you shouldn't have been doing stupid shit, right? You shouldn't have been breaking the law. You got no one to blame but yourself for your own stupid actions. This is what happens when you get all coked out. We're all fucking watching you guys. This is, y'all are acting dumb as fuck. You buried your own self. You fucked your own self over. It's nobody's fault but yours. So yeah, that's what else I wanted to point out. I needed to make sure that, like, it was briefly mentioned in that paper, but that is what's happening. People are not getting resolution. They're filing another case. They're filing another case. The system's getting incredibly backed up. And then Congress is cutting the budgets even more, causing the system to become even more backed up. So that the evidence, you know, the bank accounts that the money went to, etc., doesn't get discovered. That's why they're doing it. So there's something else that I wanted to say that I forgot. You know, I mean, there's so much going on, and I got lit up. But whistleblowers, like people from inside of our federal agencies, you know, you guys, even if it was just during the pandemic, you know, there's the pandemic, and then there's right now. But you guys need to be telling your story. Okay? What we're dealing with is a national security threat. We're dealing with people that are attacking our nation that, I mean, from the looks of it, I don't understand why Donald Trump's even in office. But we need to protect our nation right now. And there are so many of us, they're trying to overthrow a whole goddamn ass motherfucking country, bro. Okay? There are so many people inside of our federal agencies that have been impacted. Look at me, I'm out here screaming my head off. I'm in one piece right now. So, you know, the more of us that will come out here, the more safe all of us are. Use your voice. Because if the people know what happened, if the people know what's been going on, that's been going on for the last like 5 fucking years now. Through the pandemic, all the way up until present day. There's a lot that the people need to be made aware of. This is how we fix these problems. And the more of us that come out here and speak out, the better. That's how we fix it. So don't be scared. And don't be killing yourself over some fucking junkied out ass fucking ketamine addict, guys. Come on. There's nothing to be scared of here. These guys are real pieces of shit. And you got the whole country backing you up right now. That safety comes in that visibility. There is no good enough reason why people should be out here being all scared for their safety and shit. No, dude, we need to gang up on these motherfuckers. We are America. This is stupid. They're attacking the people. That's treason. These are people who belong in jail. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and all his MAGA cronies, they belong in jail. We don't let this happen. We're Americans. Let's be badass. We fought World War II. Come on, be badass motherfuckers. Dude, don't be doing this shit. Don't be, nobody, this fear response that people are having is unwarranted. So I want to encourage anybody that if you've been inside of our federal agencies and you witnessed any form of negligence, I don't care how small it was, tell your story. And it, you know, contact the media. And I don't know if we can we can trust mainstream media. And, you know, contact some fucking social media influencers. Some of these people know what journalistic integrity is. If you want your identity kept quiet, you know, reach out to some of these fucking social media influencers that are doing the news. Tell them to keep your name private. But the people need to know. It is 5:50 a.m. The people need to be made aware of what has happened and what these guys are doing. And at the end of the day, ultimately, we need a bunch of all these people inside of our federal agencies to come and blow the whistle so we can fix the problem. Because they're tampering with computers. They're trying to hide evidence. So you guys got to tell your story. But there's so many of you guys just need to fucking let them have it. There's nothing to be scared of out here. You need to come out here and serve your country right now. That's what this is. And this whole thing that Congress keeps denying the budgets, trying to weaponize the budgets, we need to do something about it. But if it's going to be normalized and you guys are going to let, not say anything, we need you guys speaking up right now. This is how we make things better. Things are bad right now. We got to make it better. So everybody just needs to sing in unison, and all the civilians that are scared, dude. What's there to be scared of if we're all speaking out against these fucking pieces of shit? What are they going to do? Pluck off half of the population? How are they going to do that? There's only like 150, 200 of these guys. So what's everybody so scared of? Let's get these problems fixed, people. So I'm having a little bit of a hard time focusing. I mean, I've been through this for quite a while now. This has been going on for a real long time for me, and I'm just so far beyond frustrated, and my situation just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And there's no light at the end of the tunnel. I'm just in hell. So it's kind of hard for me to stay on point with some of this. But I wanted to point something else out. Yes, like, weaponization of the budgets is something that's been happening, and it's been happening for a while, but that doesn't mean it's okay. I've talked to federal employees while I'm, like, in the middle of all of this. So, like, I only worked there for 6 months, and what I saw was incredibly alarming. And what alarmed me so much was that we didn't give a fuck, and we weren't trying to help people. But I feel like there's an extent to which this abuse that's been going on through our federal agencies and weaponizing the budgets for political gain, I feel it's been normalized. And employees have found a way to come to acceptance with this. And I don't think this is something to come acceptance with. I mean, ultimately, what this results in is the denial of justice. These are court cases that are getting ignored. I don't care if they're going through a federal agency. We're dealing with people that are breaking the law that are being allowed to do so when these cases get thrown out. Other than that, I think that any politician involved in using the budgets as a political weapon from here moving forward needs to be held criminally liable for being involved in such a thing. This is not something that should be happening at all. We need to have professional accountants making these decisions. If the United States has money to go and engage in frivolous wars and attack innocent people, I'm sorry, but if we got operations, and there's terrorist cells, then when there's a war, the terrorist cell is what needs to be targeted, not innocent civilians. So there's that. But a lot of Americans feel that the ongoing wars that have been taking place through the United States are just economic wars and frivolous and just acts of cruelty towards other nations and towards our own people. And a lot of people talk about the military-industrial complex and how this is all for profit. If there's a war, it needs to be a matter of safety. It needs to be a legitimate issue. And I think it's pretty apparent to most people that a lot of these wars, there's no direct threat. What is going on? So, at the end of the day, the people in Congress that are doing this are deliberately harming the American people, and this is not something that should be used as a political weapon. We got money to go blow on bullshit. Obviously, there's enough money for you guys to steal it and stuff it in your own bank accounts if you're working for the federal government. This should be a top priority, is seeing to it that the law is enforced and that we have a safe place for our citizens. The United States has the most serial killers in the world, and yet we can't afford to test DNA kits for murders? So again, there is something very wrong with our system of governance. And I think that seeing to it that our federal agencies are funded should actually be a top priority. Other than that, we need to clear these backlogs. These agencies should not only be funded fully, but they need to have extra funding right now because of all the negligence that has gone on post-pandemic while Trump and his buddies go on a crime spree. And again, the definition of treason is the act of harming the American people deliberately. So I just felt that I also needed to point that out, because that's something that could come up in debates. But no, this is not acceptable, and I don't care if it's been normalized within our federal agencies. This is not acceptable. Decisions made with regards to our budgets need to be made with a rationality. They need to be made on an educated basis, and I don't think that Congress is qualified to do that, and I don't think the office of the president or DOJ is qualified to do that. I think this needs to be done by accountants. And I think our FBI needs to be a independent institution. Because from what I've seen, the FBI is the only agency that's able to hold domestic terrorists accountable, including Donald Trump. And if Donald Trump or the President of the United States, whoever is in charge, gets to choose who is in charge of the FBI, then they're less likely to be held legally accountable. So we got a lot of loopholes and a lot of areas in our system of governance that are broken, especially after being neglected for 10 years since the Citizens United decision was made. We've got a lot of work to do. We need to start finding these things and writing laws and getting them passed as citizens, since we cannot trust our politicians. But I just wanted to make sure that I pointed that out, because I think that's something I forgot. But we're going to go ahead and conclude this video with this wonderful video. This is now going to be how I end my videos moving forward. This footage of Donald Trump during his pre-inauguration rally.
So the Olympics is great. And Johnny, for the others, you know, the World Cup, Johnny is the head of it. We had our top people, Wasserman. They all came in on the Olympics, and then I saw Johnny. And we got the World Cup too. And you know, it's only because they rigged the election that I'll be your president representing you there. You know, I got both of them. I got the Olympics and I got the World Cup. And I said, you know, it's too bad. One was in 2026 and the other was in 2028. And I said, I won't be there. I won't be your president. But then they rigged the election and now we won. So I'm going to be your president for the Olympics and for the World Cup. So, Johnny, thank you for the World Cup. And everybody, thank you for the Olympics. We're going to have a great time.
Hey guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment on my videos. And also, don't forget to check out my shop where you could get this awesome Real Patriots Punch Nazis t-shirt. America, fuck yeah! And if you go to the link tree in my bio on most platforms, it's got links to everything, all of my stuff. You can find my shop there. I'm on eBay. You can also get this cool Exterminate MAGA sticker, because MAGA's fucking cockroaches. And fuck MAGA. Abolish MAGA. Fuck you, MAGA.
There's a game in Washington. single day.